Get out the insurance cards, get out the copays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by DrRoto.com.
Good afternoon, all of my East Coasters. Good morning, all of my West Coasters. It is DrRoto.com. We are live. We're going to hang out for a couple hours. We're going to talk about the fantasy season, how it treated us. We're gonna get Swami's take on the firing of his favorite coach. We're going to talk to my good friend Jon Foley here. Big fantasy player, big Lions fan. Sorry about that season, but we'll keep it light. We'll keep it friendly. Swami, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. It's been a very merry beginning of the year. Bittersweet. Obviously, hate to see that field goal go wide right, but I was glad to know that we were able to right the ship. You see what I did there, Danger? So excited for the possibilities of the 26th season.
I like it. John, did you see the meme going around with the field goal set in the middle? It said Tomlin fired, and wide right or left it said Harbaugh fired. That was pretty accurate. What was going to happen at the end of that game?
No, I haven't seen that one yet.
It was pretty good. Of course, trusted Trevor from DrRoto.com. Trevor, you had a basketball win last night, man.
Yeah, I did. I had a $100 single entry and it took first place, so that was pretty good. I just used an optimizer DFS hero and made them line up and hit cash. So
yeah,
nice.
Love when that happens. Of course,
I was bored.
Trevor won $100,000 earlier this year, $25,000 earlier this year. I wish I had his problems with the neck brace. I tell you that.
Well, it's making the neck brace not as bad as it should be.
I like that. John, we used to do a podcast together talking about whiskey mostly. Those were good times, my friend. I haven't seen you really much since then. How was your Christmas? How was your end of the year?
It's the restaurant business, so it was typically very, very busy. It kind of starts right before Thanksgiving and just rolls right into January 2nd. And, we have a split up Christmas where we have, multiple Christmases with different sets of parents, et cetera. And my son's birthday is the 29th. So January 2nd ends up being like a day I'm really fond of.
Yeah.
It all comes down.
Well, I like that. If anybody is in Michigan like I am, go up in Fenton, go check out John's restaurant, The Vault. It is one of my favorite places. He makes the best cocktails in the state of Michigan. I'll die on that hill, sir.
Thanks,
anyways,
I appreciate it.
Let's get into football, my friends. Let's start with the AFC East. Let's start with those New England Patriots. How surprised are you, Swami, to see the Patriots number one seed in the AFC East, 14-3? What a turnaround for that team. Any surprise there, or did you kind of see this coming?
I wouldn't say it was a huge surprise. I think folks thought that the Patriots would be good to start the season. Maybe not 14-3, but I think folks aren't surprised that they won the division. They got a little momentum going into the playoffs. I think they are, right where we thought they would be, or playing maybe a little bit above that. But what May has been able to do is the real exciting part. So if you're a Patriots fan, that's what's really got you excited about both the postseason and about next couple of years.
Does Stephon Diggs stick with the team? Is he even allowed to play football next year? What's going on with him?
That is disappointing, to say the least. They were playing so well. The last thing they needed was a distraction, and then somebody who could actually help them in the playoffs. I just wish him the best, but I'm not sure. It's unlikely though.
Yeah, who knows with that. John, we talked a little bit before the show. Stevenson, Henderson having a heck of a year. Stevenson locked up for at least 2 more seasons. What's your take on that backfield next year, and what's your interest in drafting those guys? Did you hear me, John? That was for you.
I'm sorry, you cut out there a little bit. What's my take on the backfield?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. The audio is on. Yeah, it's on a delay. I think more than ever you can see in a good offense, 2 backs can both be really valuable. I think the offense is probably good enough and run oriented enough that they're both guys you want to roster. Maybe you don't want to pay up for Henderson, but they're both going to provide value, I think, next year.
No, I can agree with that. Trevor, I would probably be the guy in a lot of these backfields. It didn't work out for me this year. I faded Gibbs, played more Monty. Is that something you're looking at here? You let somebody else pay a little higher for Henderson and take Stevenson for value in any drafts, or are you kind of fading this?
I'm probably going to fade it. I don't expect the Patriots to have, quite as good a season next year as they did this year. I should take that back, but I think the passing game is going to be even better. But they'll probably go a little bit too high for me just because of Henderson. Stevenson's playing pretty good ball. I don't think you're going to see a big where somebody's going to dominate the backfield. What's also surprising about the Patriots? They lost to the Raiders at home opening day and then lost to Pittsburgh at home 2 weeks later. They're that close to being home field advantage. 2 losses like that early in the season. But as far as the running backs go, I mean, I like the backs, but we'll see where they go. If you can get Henderson in the 4th round, I don't think he'll go that late, though. I think he'll probably be people jump him up to the 2nd or 3rd round, which might be too high. So Stevenson in like the 6th or 7th round would probably be a better value.
I like that. Welcome, Willie Walls. I see you got the camera working finally. Can you hear us? Oh, almost had him, Willie. Almost had him. Yeah, I mean, I like this team a lot. You have to like Drake May. He's absolutely a fantastic quarterback. I don't know if Diggs comes back. Who knows? If he doesn't, that wide receiver room definitely needs help. You could see another veteran going there. I'm with you guys on Stevenson and Henderson. I think they both have value. I think if they fall in the right spot, I want them. Drake May does take a lot of runs away from those two as well on the goal line. So it is interesting to see how that's going to turn out. Any love for any of these young wide receivers there? Kyle Williams flashed a little bit. Trevor, you like Kyle Williams next year?
He'd be a really late flyer for me. And, Diggs is gone, then he has a little bit more value. But, he'd be a late round guy, very late.
Anybody over there, Swami, for you in the wide receiver core, or do they need a complete reset and overhaul?
I think they're going to need to draft some folks, so maybe look at free agency next year.
I like it. Well, Hunter Henry is, 48 years old. Maybe he comes back and leads them again somewhere in there.
They seem like a landing spot for a guy like Juwan Jennings.
Yeah, very much. Obviously, speaking about the 49ers, Juwan Jennings is probably looking for a spot. Ayuk is going to be looking for a team. Maybe one of those guys makes it over in the Patriots. Excellent point there. I like their chances in the playoffs. I think they've got an okay road to get there. I didn't get them in my playoff draft at all. John, you play any playoff drafts or elimination leagues?
I can never seem to get enough people interested. Everybody's kind of done at the end of the season, and I never can round up enough people to make it fun.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, we host a DFS league on DraftKings. If you're interested, I'll hit you up about it later. But we did we pull 6 people together plus me, so there's 7 of us doing a snake draft. I hedged my heart, John. I hedged my heart. I picked all Philadelphia Eagle players. So if my team wins, I'm happy. If my team loses, I got a shot at some money.
Okay.
I love it. Hey, Swabby, what happens if Harbaugh goes over to Willie's team?
Danger, I know I said this earlier in chat. It is unlikely that John Harbaugh will coach in any professional sport, to include fencing, pickleball, badminton. I think he is, likely riding off into the sunset. I think he had a decent career. He spent quite a few years there. He's been around the league for a while, but as a head coach guy, we struggle quite a bit. And then you hate to do it when you got a talented team, or you got a team that has a MVP type of guy, quarterback, great defense, and then you just keep having these disappointing losses, and at some point it falls on the head guy.
That's true. John, talking about disappointing losses, the Buffalo Bills in every single playoffs. Can they pull it off this year? Let's talk about the Bills.
I mean, as you know, they've kind of always been my other team. My dad worked in Buffalo when I was a kid, so I've followed the Bills since the Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas era. But they're a weird team because they're so seasoned, they seem like one of the most likely to come out of the AFC. just purely because of experience in Josh Allen, but the defense doesn't stop anybody ever. So they probably have to have the right set of circumstances in front of them. Really, it's strange because a Houston or a Denver seems more likely because of how defensively strong they are, even though their offenses are rote and boring.
Yeah, it's true. Another team that desperately needs wide receivers, Trevor. What do you think the future for the Bills are next year? I mean, defense is always something they're going to look for, but they really need that big wide receiver. I think they just don't have it. They got Josh Cook. They got Cook. They've got Allen. They've got nothing else there. How do they improve next year?
Well, I think they could maybe, work out a trade with my team. We'll give them Jordan Addison for something because we need improvements too. And we can't pay Addison. So they should call up Minnesota. But Minnesota organization is probably too dumb to do it anyway. So, yeah, they need to come up with a receiver. They're going to need to improve their run defense a lot because that's what's killing them. They can't stop the run at all. So, what's surprising? They're favored to win this week against Jacksonville, which makes me like them because I think everybody's going to be on the Jaguars in this game, and I hate being on the public side. So they're going to need some receivers. They need Dalton Kincaid to have a healthy season. I mean, this guy's always, he's not playing every week. I mean, they need him to play 15 games, running wise, though, Cook's been as good as anybody, so.
He's been good. Swami, I'm in this playoff draft where there's only 7 of us, right? So 2 quarterbacks, so every quarterback is taken. And snake draft back around, just 7 of us. So I typically stack one AFC team, one NFC team, and pray. You either take first or last with that. And the Bills are my other side. I took Allen. I took Shakir because he seems to be the guy there. And I ended up taking Knox because somebody took Kincaid from me, but Knox is a red zone kind of guy. But I took 4 tight ends, Swami. We get 2 flexes, and I filled it all with tight ends for the playoffs. What do you think of that?
Interesting. I could see a couple of tight ends getting in there. You got the, maybe the Bills. You definitely could look at maybe the 49ers. I could see it. Maybe the Bears. I could see 4 seems like a lot. But I
took Goddard. I took Knox. I took Schultz. And, one other guy I forgot already. That's how bad the strategy is. But we'll find out how it happens. The Bills for you, sir. Are they still on the uprise, or are they surviving purely on Josh Allen's willpower?
If that's to me, I think they're surviving mostly on Allen, but I think Cook has showed up this year. I know they tried something. I'm gonna say they had a little experiment with maybe Palmer, and he's suffered through some injuries. They brought Davis back. They still kind of holding out hope. I think Shakir was decent, so they're still trying. Obviously, they had some injuries at tight end as well. So if they can stay healthy, they got enough with Allen and I think Mr. Cook where they can make some noise. I wouldn't count the Bills out.
I don't think you can count. Go ahead,
the Bills made a big mistake last year when they traded with Kansas City. They ended up getting Keon Coleman instead of Worthy in that trade, and they switched. I know Worthy has been great for the Chiefs, but he's better than Coleman. That was a bad move. They would be much better off with Worthy with Allen right now.
Nope, can't agree more. Well, let's keep going. Let's move on. Who are we going to next here? Let's go to the Jets because we actually have a question here, and. Big Bando TV wants to know, in a dynasty moving forward, is it Garrett Wilson or is it Tet McMillan? Jon Foley, what do you think there?
That's difficult to answer without knowing who the Jets quarterback is going to be. Bryce Young is a game manager. I don't think he's been horrible this year, but I certainly think that Tet could probably gain more from another quarterback, and he was still super productive. So Garrett Wilson, with his injury history and unsure what he's going to be receiving from at quarterback, it's kind of easier to lean Tet right now.
Yeah, I think so. I think in a perfect world, Trevor, that Garrett Wilson might have more raw talent than Tet. Maybe. Hard to say. What if Jacoby Brissett ends up being the quarterback in New York and slings the ball 375 yards a game?
Well, I don't know if they'll go for Jacoby Brissett. They're going to draft the quarterback first. They're going to draft Dante Moore out of Oregon, most likely with the second pick. I don't know if they'll rush him in to be the starter. Will they spend money on a guy like Brissett? I don't know how much Brissett would want. I mean, if Brissett ends up there or somebody like that, or Malik, no, maybe not Malik Willis, but if Brissett ends there, then we know that Garrett Wilson will be should be a top 15 receiver if he can stay healthy, maybe even top 10, because you look at what he did with Wilson in Arizona. So, yeah.
We're talking about Garrett Wilson here, Swami, who led the team in receiving yards at 395 yards, sir. Is there any hope for the Jets at all next year?
The short answer is no. But what they could possibly do is, like you said, maybe bring somebody in and get the fans excited about it. I don't think, I think Arizona, if they were making a decision at quarterback, that wouldn't be the quarterback I'd be getting rid of in a city of New York. So maybe it'd be the other guy throwing to Garrett Wilson. But I might hold on to that Wilson connection and that they got going to next season. They can build on that. If they can figure out a running game, stay healthy there. They got McBride. They're throwing the ball all over the place and maybe play a little defense. Maybe they can get something going. But I wouldn't start that over by going back with, Murray and Harrison next season. That would be a disaster.
Couldn't agree more. John, is there anybody on this Jets team as it stands right now that you would even put on your draft board?
For dynasty or redraft?
For redraft next year.
I mean, I'm not going to lie, it's pretty rough. I mean, you can probably underpay for Hall again. He'll drop another round or two and probably still have value. I mean, Wilson will drop based on recency bias and what happened this year, so he'll probably be value too. So believe it or not, again, depending on the quarterback, I probably would draft some of these guys. And that's if Breece Hall is even on this team.
Sure.
So
any more thoughts
maybe
on
the guy I would draft is future Jets team.
Any more thoughts on the Jets before we talk about the Dolphins?
Well, yeah, Wilson just could be a bargain, and depending on who the quarterback's there.
Yeah, I guess it really depends. It's tough to make. I mean, we're obviously the season's still going here, fellas. So we're still projecting and chatting. I know Tano Ram, you're down here in our green room. If you want to come in and chat with us, just pop your camera on, and I'll know that you're ready. But we'll bring you in anytime you want. Let's talk about the Dolphins here. I think Tua's days are done. You got to move on from Tua, don't you? Don't you have to move on from Tua, Trevor?
Oh yeah, he's definitely gone. He's even pretty much talked about it afterwards that he wants to go somewhere where he can compete to start. They moved on. They even make him. He wasn't even dressing, or he was dressing as an emergency quarterback there at the end. So, could he end up with a team like Minnesota is going to bring in a veteran quarterback? Could he go to the Jets? Who knows?
Mm-hmm. What's the future for Hill, John? Do you think Hill has any future? Is he done? Is he coming back to the Dolphins?
Well, wasn't it a few years back that he said he was only going to play till like 2026 or 2027? Like he said, he had a retirement plan. Injuries and regime changes and quarterback changes have a way of accelerating or changing those types of plans. But he doesn't seem quite like the type of guy who wants to go out with a leg injury and have that be the end of his career. So he's probably going to play.
Yeah. Any landing spots that you would like to see him in that would make him interesting to you in redrafts next year?
Tyreek Hill?
Yeah.
Probably plenty. I mean, if he's got a full bill of health, he could be, I didn't do any research as far as wide receiver landing spots before I started, but he could be in a place like Washington. He could be in a place like, oh man, who needs a receiver? Tons of people.
Right. Buffalo.
He could be a Raider for all we know. That seems like a thing that he could do. Yeah. But I think he probably just wants to play and have a good quarterback.
Oh, I think so. And Trevor just spoke up a little bit. New England has a history of signing these players for one-off seasons.
For sure.
Yeah. Swami, how about you? Any love for Tyreek Hill, depending on where he lands next year?
I think so. I think he still maybe got another season or two in him, but there's only one spot I want to see him at, and that's back in Kansas City.
Back in Kansas City was interesting. Heat says he could work out in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh loves their old-time players.
Who's throwing the ball in Pittsburgh next year?
Very good question. Very good question. So Devon A-Chain absolutely tore it up. Had a tremendous year. He came close to 2,000 all-purpose yards, didn't he? He came real close. 500 came less than 200 from 2,000 all-purpose yards. Jalen Waddle looks good. They've got some young running backs. Wright that looks like he's in a good spot. Malik Washington stepped up when he needed to. Trevor, what did you see in Ewers? Is he NFL ready next year?
I don't think so. I just don't think he's going to be the guy. Maybe. You just don't know how these guys are going to develop from one year to the next year. I mean, he's rushed in there from one season to the next, but I don't know if he'll be the guy. You know, these guys can make a decent jump going to next year, but playing for Miami without Tyreek Hill, I mean, Waddle's a nice player. They don't have a whole lot there.
They don't. Swami A-Chain, this guy produced all year. Bad offense, bad matchups. As long as his knees were healthy, he produced all year. Is he a top 12 pick for you next year?
He has to be, maybe top 10. And I say that because he was able to do that with them shuffling different quarterbacks in. The receivers wasn't healthy for most of the season, so they didn't have much of a passing game. You couldn't even think of any receiver who had a decent game, especially after Hill went out, and it wasn't like he was tearing it up when he was in there. So I think, you know, what he was able to do and how he was able to lead the offense, if he can get any help, I think he could be, you know, even probably better than top 10.
No, I agree. Jon Foley, right now, redraft, where does A-Chan fit in for you?
Oh, probably mid-first round, probably 7 or 8. He's probably third running back off the board, maybe. You got Bijan and wherever you fall on CMC and Gibbs and Cook. So A-Chain's right there. A-Chain.
Right there. Couldn't agree more. Willie Walls, he keeps trying to get in. He keeps trying. He's got floating over there. Willie, did you make it yet? You're muted. You're muted, but I see you. Maybe. Hi, Willie. Oh, it's cracking me up. Yeah, we're going to take him out of there. Let's see. Heat says, wouldn't mind seeing Garoppolo go to Pittsburgh. Not sure he'll push the bar far enough down the field. Garoppolo, I have not thought about that name in a long time. John, what do you think of Garoppolo?
I think you're more likely to see him in a shampoo commercial than you are on the field.
I like that answer. Heat, we love you, buddy, but I don't know, man. Garoppolo.
Maybe once again, maybe the quarterback whisperer O'Connell will pick up a Garoppolo and piss me off.
Right. Up in Minnesota. Will he be the 4th or 5th starting quarterback for them in 2026? Sorry to kick you while you're down, Trevor. I'm sorry. I apologize. Yeah. All right, let's move on to the AFC South. Let's talk about these Jaguars. Trevor, you and I were real high on these guys. Doc was high on these guys. We wanted Trevor Lawrence. We wanted Brian Thomas for this big year. Liam Cohen comes in, ends up turning this into one of the most fascinating teams of the year. But, man, it was a rough start for them. How do they build on this year, Trevor? How do they build on this?
Well, I just think they keep what they're doing, try to keep the receiving core intact what they have. I mean, I don't know if ETN will be back next year, but they got Tootin. But, you want to keep Myers, Washington, and, maybe Brian Thomas Jr. finds a way to turn it back around next year. They got Brenton Strange. So I don't think they need to make any changes on offense, really. I mean, they just try to start the status quo next year.
I'll be honest, John. When I look at the Jaguars, I see a team who has an accomplished offense. I see a team that really put a defensive run together these last, 4 or 5 games. I see a pretty complete team. I don't see a whole lot of things I would change in Jacksonville.
Probably not. I mean, it's probably core changes, shoring up defense, making sure the offensive line is good. I mean, ETN's playing this on his option. So you're going to have to do something with the running back. And I don't think Tootin's all the way the guy. But the wide receiver core is relatively set. It's a well-distributed offense and an opportunistic defense. So, I mean, that team looks like they're built for a couple years of success for sure.
For sure. Swami, I call it flop lag, right? When you pick all the right players the week before. And I feel like I picked all the right Jags the year before I needed to draft them. Are you in on the Jags next year, heavy? Because I think I'm going to be again.
I think so. I think the Jags showed us a lot. Obviously, they had Hunter go down, but they still had Myers, a couple other people to show up. You can't really say who's the guy from that perspective, but you know that Lawrence is viable. I think ETN shown that he can be a factor in that offense, and so you figure Parker Washington, somebody's going to be involved. Strange, so you got a lot of options there. But as far as the main two, I think Lawrence and ETN should be on everybody's board.
Trevor, we ended up seeing Parker Washington end the season as their number one wide receiver in yardage and catches. I didn't see that coming. And I think that's great. They get Hunter back with Myers in play. If Brian Thomas, doesn't hold out and ask for a trade or something, you got 4 good wide receivers there. And maybe Hunter spends more time on defense than offense. Where are you ranking these guys next year?
Well, I would think they want to move. They traded for Jacoby Myers. You got the 3 receivers. You think Hunter they want him more on defense because their secondary is their weak point. They will give up yards through the air. So you would want him, I think, to be fresh on the defensive side of the ball. As far as receivers go, I think you have to put Parker Washington ahead of the other guys. I'm just not, I'm not going to draft Brian Thomas Jr. unless he falls way down, and he should fall way down. But I'm not, he killed me in so many leagues this year. If you, like I said, we talked before the show, if you'd have told me that Trevor Lawrence would have ended up as a top 5 fantasy quarterback and Brian Thomas Jr. was off the map, I'd have said you're crazy, and that's what happened.
That did happen. John, we were just talking that we think that with the emergence of Washington and bringing Jacoby Myers in, giving him an extension, that allows them to have Hunter play more at defense. And I think that's a positive thing for the Jags.
Yeah, likely. I mean, fantasy stuff aside, they got to pick something that they want to do with him and do it close to 100% because that's at this level the best for that player. If they want the best for their investment and Travis Hunter wants to have success, I think he probably needs to focus on one thing. And he's a good corner.
Yeah, I can't wait to have these talks here after the draft and, see who goes where. It'll be interesting to start putting the pieces together. It's too early. We probably should have done this show after the Super Bowl, but, whatever. It's too early to think about free agents and where they might land. But I think you're right. ETM probably.
Well, that could be its own show, John. Just for
yes,
agents.
You know it. We'll have you back anytime you want. Trevor and I like to do these daytime shows, so I know that you're usually up for that, so we'll keep you in touch for that as well. I think the Jags are more or less a complete team. I'm really looking forward to it. So let's talk about the Houston Texans. Absolutely dominated the ball on defense this year. Some of the stats that I saw them being compared to some of the best defenses of all time. Swami, I feel like you have a statement on that. Oh, you're muted. Oh, there you go.
No. I think all time is always a strong word, but I think good right now. Sometimes all time, we got to see it play out over either time or see what they're able to accomplish as far as, maybe going in the postseason and making a lot of noise. But I think good is right where I'm at right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think really good.
Trevor, we'll talk about their offense a little bit. I mean, C.J. Stroud has not been able to repeat what he did his rookie year. He did pass for 3,000 yards, but only 19 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Are they still confident in C.J. Stroud, or do you think they'll test the backup market a little bit for safety, or what do you think there?
I think they'll just stick with Stroud. I don't see them bringing in much for competition. They need to improve their offensive line because their goal line offense stinks. If they can improve that goal line offense, and then they get a lot better fantasy-wise. So we want to see what they do on offensive line. They need to improve that, and then maybe Stroud could even be better because there were a lot of games where he was running for his life.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Somebody says here, once is a coincidence, twice is a pattern. Need to see a pattern. Always good advice there. John, we saw Dalton Schultz be their number one wide receiver. They struggled keeping Nico healthy. I know, Schultz. So I told Trevor he had to buy that jersey, John, because we have this tradition around here that when somebody hits a giant jackpot of a competition, Trevor won $100,000 earlier this year, that we buy the player that was the least owned in the DFS field on the roster's jersey. So Dalton Schultz right there. We'll give him compliments for a $100,000 win for Trevor. But Schultz is their number one receiver this year, mostly because Nico Collins wasn't healthy. I saw a little flash from Jaden Higgins. Do you like Higgins? Do you like Noel? What did you see out of the guys not named Nico that you might be excited for next year?
Well, I mean, I'm fairly excited for Higgins. I think they worked him in slow, and I think he did flash at the end. I mean, I own him in Dynasty. I got him in the second round. I think probably with like the overall like 12 or 13, and he sat on my bench for most of the year. But I'm definitely not going to shop him. I want to see. I think there's something to see there for sure.
Mm-hmm. Swami, when I was talking to Jason Braddock, our local Houston guy earlier this year, we were chit-chatting about some of these wide receivers, and he liked Noel more than Higgins, but it didn't work out that way in reality football. Is there room for Noel there as well, or did Higgins just flat out outplay him?
I think Higgins kind of took the lead in that. I think for a while the folks wanted Noel to probably be that guy, especially, until Dell is back in the mix, assuming that he'll come back healthy. But I think Higgins has just shown that, he is, more consistent, maybe a little bit more dependable in that offense, and going to be a better complement to Nico going into the playoffs.
Like that. Is there any life, Trevor, left in Christian Kirk?
No.
I was kind of excited when he went there. Dell was out, and there was kind of an open spot for that second receiver, and he also had some injury struggles. But
he's had a lot of injuries over the last couple of years, and your mind always plays tricks on you because you've seen him play good a few years ago. But we have to remember that was well in the past now. I think it's pretty much over.
Mm-hmm. John, what was your smell test on Woody Marks? Is he the real deal? Can he be their bell cow?
Well, first, a comment on Christian Kirk. The way that my Bills take care of business, I'm sure he's earmarked for Buffalo next year, and it'll be awesome watching him catch 21 passes from the Josh Allen offense. Really looking forward to that. Woody Marks, it's a nice story, but I don't know if it lasts much longer than a year or two. What was his draft capital? Was he a third round or fourth round pick?
I don't remember.
I think Marks was a fourth round pick.
So there's a little bit of investment there, but I definitely think they're still looking for something complimentary.
Yeah, I don't know about Joe Mixon. It was so weird. He seemed extremely good last year before he got hurt, and then he started the year off not playing at all, and then just complete and utter radio silence on Joe Mixon. He's probably done. I mean, he's old. He had too many injuries. It's fine, but it just sucks to see him have such a great year before he went down the year before, and then just nothing this year.
Yeah, he's quiet, could he?
Yeah, probably. I'd have to look at his contract. Obviously, Chubb is not the answer, so they'll bring somebody else in there. Swami, what did you think about Marks this year? He's going to be a hot topic in the offseason.
I think Marks had maybe one game that made him kind of relevant from a fantasy perspective, but I think he had other games where he was decent. You kind of want especially a young back, you want him to flash a little bit more. He just felt like he was kind of just banging, getting some tough yards in there, helping the offense kind of go when they were struggling maybe to throw the ball in some games, or helping the defense or the team get a win by just kind of grinding it out in a couple of games. But it didn't just feel like he had, much of a breakout. But he was decent. So I think they will bring him back, and he'll have an opportunity, maybe in the postseason, to kind of show what he has. But he still needs to, I think, break out before he can get into that, situation where they feel like he's the guy.
I mean, I'm sitting here looking at this team. Their defense is really good. They can hold that together. Nico Collins is fantastic. Schultz does everything they want him to do. A little offensive line and a more consistent running game, and this team is dangerous for many, many years to come.
Yeah, with Marks, I want to see what they do with their offensive line. I mean, there are so many fantasy points that they miss out on because they can't run the ball inside the 5-yard line. I mean, he got stuffed at the 2-yard line. 1 yard line many times. It's not his fault. It's because he got hit as soon as he touches the football. So I want to see what they do offensive line. If they don't improve the offensive line, then my want for marks isn't that high. But if they bring in some studs up there, then I'll move them up my board.
Fair enough. Let's move on to the Indianapolis Colts. John, I saw a funny meme again about talking about Phillip Rivers, and there was a lot of discussion over him, and there was a big long article about how he had no regrets, and I kind of answered on that Facebook post. I'm sure he didn't, but maybe the fans had some big regrets that it was Phillip Rivers. That is all they could come up with while chasing a playoff spot. It was a fun story. He was fun to watch, but could they have actually won 2 of 3 of those games if it was anyone else?
Probably. That team had just such a collective collapse. It was just unbelievable. And the offense was starting to go a little south when Daniel Jones was still playing. Maybe because he was playing, obviously visibly hurt. But the whole thing started before Rivers. But yeah, of course they could have done something better. I don't know exactly what the name would have been, and they're going to have to figure that out now because they don't have a quarterback.
Right. Yeah. No, it's troublesome. Daniel Jones, what a story that was. So, I couldn't even believe it. I know Trevor's a Minnesota Vikings fan. He was pissed off they didn't keep him around. Just all the Darnold was there. We'll get to Minnesota when we get to the NFC.
I'm not mad they didn't keep Darnold. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I guess. Obviously, Swami Taylor is legit. And they've got, 3 wide receivers that are all excellent wide receiver 2s. I don't know if any of them is really a true number 1. If Warren can develop, he is supremely physically gifted at the tight end spot. What's the future for Indianapolis for you, fantasy-wise?
Now, Daniel Jones played out of his mind, I thought, this year. I thought him and Jonathan Taylor, what they had going early, they looked like they were going to roll into the playoffs. And then they hit a wall. I think it started with some injuries. Just like John said, I think they started to kind of struggle as, Daniel started to come back down to earth. So I don't know if they started putting, kryptonite or whatever, teams figured out something, and because they started to break down quickly after Jones went out, which is just a credit to how he played, what he meant to the team. I was pretty surprised. I think everybody had to be surprised as well as he played. I know Doc was kind of rooting for him, but it took me by surprise. And the way that offense looked with him in there, they have to be excited about what it can look like if he's able to come back and stay healthy. That thing with him and Taylor, even some of the other pieces. He had Warren going, he had Pittman going, and then there's a lot to like about the Colts on both sides of the ball. They just got to stay healthy, and I think they can kind of bring it back to get it going. But I do want to put a comment where Trevor put a comment related to Darnold. All I can say is that the guy is winning football games. The last 2 years, 28-5 or something like that. We got to give him some credit. That's all I'm saying, Danger. I get it from a fan perspective. We look at it a little differently, but he's winning football games. And from a quarterback, that has to mean something.
For sure. John, this run-pass option that these guys ran when Jones was healthy just put up a ton of fantasy points. If he can come back and start with this team, where are you on Daniel Jones? Where does he fit in drafting quarterbacks for you? Does he pop the top 10 of quarterbacks that you might pick?
I don't have to. Coming off an injury, if he's fully healthy, he's going to be drafted outside of the top 10. So you can just wait on him and probably roll the dice on top 10 value for sure. And Pittman and Pierce and Downs all go up, especially Pittman if Jones is healthy.
Yeah, I like Jones a lot. He might. I like to wait on quarterback. A lot of people in the industry, we like to wait on quarterback. That's kind of the special. This is what happened, Trevor, is Trevor Lawrence became the quarterback we didn't wait on and we took, and he burned us the first half of the season. Where are you on Jones? Where are you on Taylor for next year? I think they kind of figured out Taylor at the end of the season, but that was because they couldn't do anything else. So I think Taylor will be just fine.
I have no interest in Daniel Jones next year. He's coming off an Achilles injury. I won't take a quarterback a year after his Achilles. There's no guarantee he'll even be ready opening day next year.
That is true.
So and he's a guy that for fantasy you need his legs. You need his legs to be going pretty well. So I don't have a whole lot of interest. I'm probably not going to take Taylor because I think he's going to be in the first round, firmly in the first round this year. So I'm probably going to pass on him.
Yeah, I mean, 1,600 rushing yards. That's pretty impressive in today's game. Let's get to the Tennessee Titans. They weren't super exciting for fantasy this year. But, John, did you see anything out of Cam Ward that you liked? They've got a lot of young receivers. Io Manor, that Chimere DK went from a return specialist to actually productive in the offense a couple of times. Their running game, obviously, Pollard Spears isn't really the answer. They still need a complete overhaul as a team. But if you're drafting Dynasty, is there anyone on Tennessee outside of Ward that you're interested in?
Yeah, it's the receiver there's a couple receivers. Aymar, is that his name? I can't pronounce it.
Io Manor, yeah.
Io Manor, yeah. I ended up picking him up off of waivers in Dynasty, and I'm going to hold him over the year. Because I think there's potential there. They need skill players anyway, so it's going to be interesting to see where people like him fit. But even after they probably do get a receiver, because I think Ward flashed, and I think he needs good players around him. He needs more help around him. But Ayamanor, I liked a lot.
Yeah, to me, Swami, I think they threw Ward to the wolves too early. I think sometimes these young quarterbacks that clearly need development, it might not be the best idea just to say, here, go start for our team. You want to talk about Sam Darnold? That dude, 2 years ago on the 49ers, everybody was like, why are you picking this guy up? He's 26 years old, former first-round pick. I mean, are they doing Ward dirty by making him start this year?
I think that's the best way to describe it. I think because they weren't able to run the ball, probably had offensive line, concerns early in the season. They definitely had wide receiver concerns. Everybody had high expectations for Ridley based on the preseason. He fizzled out pretty quickly. And then, at some point they got a couple of the young guys involved, but it wasn't consistent enough. It was just a bad situation for him. And then later in the season, when you saw that they were able to start running the ball, it looked like the offense looked a little better. It looked like he was able to make some throws. So you would hope if they can kind of protect them, if they can run the ball and not have him, have to put so much on his shoulders and throw the ball so much. But as far as this year, this situation, they did him dirty.
I think they did him dirty. I think that they did. There's not a whole lot to talk about these guys, to be honest. They're in a rebuild position. We got a mention for the last conversation, said sorry for the late comment here, but is JT this year's Saquon next year?
Depends on the schedule. I mean, you see they could run the ball against good teams. I mean, they struggled to run the ball against the good teams. I mean, he ran through cheese puffs, So once they got into that hard schedule, plus the quarterback went down, they had a hard time running the football.
John, where's your interest in Taylor next year?
Yeah, it's tough because I love the player, but I'm probably hoping that more people are like me and I pick him up at the beginning of the second round rather than pass on. God, I don't know who's going to be at the end of the first. Genty will probably be there, and would I take him over like a Kyron Williams? Probably, but I don't want to pay super high for him.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. All right. Let's move over. I think I skipped one because I was looking ahead. Let's move to the AFC North. We'll talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Tomlin saved his job for maybe one more year, Swami. Maybe. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry about that. So I think it's possible that he saved his job for another year, but they are probably looking to move on sooner rather than later. I think his tenure there was good, and I think both him and John, it was probably just getting close to their time to leave. I think he probably has some football left in him. I think he will coach again, or maybe he could find himself on a pro team somewhere, unlike John. But I just don't know how much more time he's got left in Pittsburgh. I don't think they'll be in the playoffs, very long, and so we could still see some movement there. But he was I think he was good for the team. He did a lot for the franchise, but lately, it's always that what have you done for me lately? And even this year, they're winning football games, but it's kind of ugly, and there's not a lot of hope right now that they can go deep into the playoffs. So
True enough. John, I don't know if you picked up on this, but Swami's a huge Ravens fan, and he hates John Harbaugh. I don't know if you picked that up. Pittsburgh, is there any scenario where that ownership was actually disappointed they made the playoffs because they wanted to clean house and now it's muddy?
You're asking me about?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
I mean, that's provided the Pittsburgh Steelers are willing to actually spend enough money to quote unquote clean house. This is an organization that consistently puts Band-Aids on tears in the wall. They're going to find a Mac Jones or somebody because they can't draft a quarterback, and they're going to be in the market for an older receiver, and they're probably just going to try to limp their way to 8-9 or 9-8 again next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not a big fan. I mean, if they get blown out in this game, maybe Tomlin gets fired. Hard to fire somebody who continually has an over 500 record and makes the playoffs, but they got to do it. I think this team needs to move on. Honestly, Swami, I know you're a big fan of this division, or at least arguing with Willie over this division. And this whole division, like from top down, kind of needs restructured, doesn't it?
I mean, it's tough to say it, but again, because you see that as a focus on some teams, having to get better at quarterback, and then you got a couple of really good quarterbacks, and then you got some teams that can run a ball. Well, you got some that can at all. You got some teams with play defense. I think, except for maybe the Bengals, and they can be spotty. They can give people trouble in the playoffs. But obviously, the best offense in there is probably the Bengals. I think then followed by the Ravens, but they still struggle with getting receivers to play consistently, or at least I think with some play calling and stuff like that. That's why it makes it really interesting with movement at both Pittsburgh potentially and Baltimore, what the division will look like. We already know Cleveland is going to be in flux. So the North is going to look different next year. I'm looking forward to it. But remember, there's still each team has something to be excited about, and there's somebody going to be able to come in and then pull together something pretty quickly as far as, getting a couple of pieces in, moving a couple of pieces around. So if you're in the North, you can, probably look forward to next season.
For sure. Trevor, fantasy-wise next year for these Steelers, I mean, Rodgers probably not going to be there. Gainwell ended up being their number one rusher. He's not super exciting in the standalone. He's more of a waiver wire pickup kind of guy. Warren, maybe. He was injured most of the time. I mean, DK Metcalf can't keep his head in the game. I mean, I'm just having a hard time finding anyone I really want to be invested in fantasy-wise on this team.
There's nobody I'm interested fantasy-wise unless, you can get Gainwell kind of late if he drops, but receiving, no. Especially if Arthur Smith's back as offensive coordinator, I want no part of the Steelers at all.
No part at all. John, how bad is Baltimore's coaching, which all just got fired, for literally forgetting how to use Derrick Henry the last half of the season?
Well, I mean, that was bad. But, I mean, the defense isn't good. They ranked 24th in total defense. Mm-hmm. They played better at the end, but that is always the staples of the Harbaugh offense have always been running the ball and playing great defense. And Baltimore didn't do either of those things at the end for most of the year. Mm-hmm. I mean, they ran the ball effectively with Henry, and then they just forgot to use him, I guess. I don't know. I think that it was just a really good case of this dude's time in that city with that team was done.
This old school coaching. Oh, go ahead, Swami.
Oh, Trevor, it was no accident. He has been consistently made those kind of decisions, those head scratches, whether it be defensive calls, whether it be calls to go for it, whether it be calls to kick field goals, when it's time to go for it on fourth down, when it's time to not. I mean, he has been consistently, I don't know if anybody's luck could be that bad. Whatever the absolute wrong call was to make in a situation, he made it. I know sometimes everybody plays, if I'm, at this point in the game, what should we do? Should we run it? But everybody can, my grandmother was like, what is he doing? Why is Henry he didn't get the ball the rest of the game. When you're up in the fourth quarter, it makes no sense. The kind of things that he was doing. Again, it falls on him as a head guy. Some of the moves they were making. Again, you keep passing up on receivers like, say, big, fast guys that are ripping up the league. They keep going after, Hollywood Brown and then Flowers. And again, even when you like these guys, you keep doing the same things over and over again. So we got a bunch of tight ends. We got a bunch of guys on defense that are out there all day long while you just make these horrible calls and you just watch us lose games. And even when we do become 14-2, or we go into the playoffs and we got all these high expectations, what you see is you see somebody in-game decisions aren't there, preparation for the team. He introduced a new playbook before a playoff game. That's just not winning football. That's why I think he'll be at a Kroger or some other grocery store, and his nickname is Paper and Plastic.
I like that. I have never seen, it's so weird to me. And we talk about it in our chat that we have, Swami, but Trevor, you ever see a coach bench more people for making a stupid mistake for no reason? I mean, Henry fumbles the ball. He's an all-time great. And they're like, nah, you're going to skip the next 3 series. You ever see a coach take a wide receiver that makes a drop and then take them out the next 3 series? No. Why do they do that with these guys?
No, the only person I've ever really seen that do is an Aaron Rodgers-led team, because Aaron Rodgers will. But no, I've not seen that. I'm really pissed at Harbaugh because he cost me some leagues, because I had Henry in a lot of leagues there. And now I don't know what to do with him in Dynasty. I don't know if I should bring him back or not next year. I'm probably going to have to. It's more like a keeper league, but I'm probably going to have to bring him back. Hopefully they get a coaching staff that lets him. I don't think he's washed up. I think we talked about it. Henry's not washed up. You can see he's still got the goods. I
made a comment in the Dr. Roto Discord that they were saving him for the 2026 season. And that's what they were doing this year. Saving his mileage for next year, even before they were off. I
don't know. I should ask Swami. You think he's worth keeping next year? I mean, I'm going to keep a Chan, and if I keep Henry, he's going to cost me a 2nd-round pick.
But what's the contract situation with Henry over there?
I think Henry is going to be on the team. I think Henry still looks good in offense. I think he still wants to be there. I think it was probably going to come down to what was going on between Lamar and the head coach. I think the team made the call there, so I think they made it easy for Henry to want to come back to be playing that offense again.
I think that you're right. All right, let's move back to another team that's got all kinds of questions. Cincinnati Bengals, a team that just can't stay healthy. They've got an all-time offense because they just keep drafting offensive players and neglecting absolutely everything else. There is some thoughts, Trevor, that perhaps Joe Burrow wants out of there. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's a big rumor in Minnesota. They're talking about packaging McCarthy and picks for Burrow, and I think this is more of a pipe dream than anything. I don't know if Burrow, does he really want to be out of there, or that's just rumors? I mean, who's going to take on that? You're going to have to trade a lot to get him. I mean, at this point, do you want to trade all that to get Joe Burrow? He's missed, most of parts of a couple seasons over the last 5 years. I think his butt's better off staying in Cincinnati and hope they build around. But I just don't know who's going to come up with that type of draft capital to get him, because they're going to want a lot for him.
It'll be interesting to see how they move the pieces, Swami. I don't know right now off the top of my head, Jamar Chase's contract, T. Higgins' contract, Chase Brown contract. But, I mean, those 4 players are a championship offense. So if they can just focus on anything besides running backs and wide receivers this draft, maybe they do something this year.
Exactly. And I think that's what they should try to do, is keep them together. I think you see that the compliment to Chase is Higgins, even though I know we had some qualms about, paying so much money, but they made that decision. I think, Chase has stepped up in that offense, talking about Brown. And again, we know what Joe can do. So if they keep that together, they focus on, getting those little pieces that championship teams seem to get, somebody who makes a spark on playoffs, special teams, or somebody who's able to make some plays on defense, just something like that. I think they're closer than maybe what their record showed this year. And so they just got to put together some wins and be consistent on defense.
Again, I don't know the contracts, but Trevor, the guy what's their big defensive guy? Hendrickson. There we go. Hendrickson. You got to be frustrated being that talented and being that good on a team that can't do a damn thing. I don't know his contract. I don't know what's going on there, but it seems to me if they have 7 picks in this upcoming draft, all 7 of them ought to be defense.
Well, I think they just re-signed him in the offseason. Wasn't he holding out, and they finally come together with an agreement to get him back? They got to spend a lot. Well, another problem the Bengals have, their offensive line can be pretty leaky. But, defense has to be the priority, and maybe they can get 1 or 2 linemen somewhere. But, I would be drafting as many defensive players as you can.
Yeah, they can clearly keep up with anyone. So I'm all in. I don't know about Joe Burrow just because of injury concerns, and I usually will wait for a quarterback. He might slip down far enough for me to grab him. But I'm all in on Chase. I'm all in on Brown. I'll probably draft Higgins. I just like this offense. It's all good with me. I don't think there's anybody else to really talk about. The rest of their players are just kind of bit guys. I didn't really see any flashes out of anybody while Higgins was out.
Remember earlier in the season when Brown he really had the struggle, and it wasn't his fault. It was just the offensive line's fault, and they were falling so far behind. Yep. We told everybody to get on Chase Brown as much as you can for the playoff run, and I hope people did that. I was able to get him in a couple other dynasty leagues for like late first round and second round picks, packaging a player. So I was really happy about that.
I like it. All right, Cleveland Browns, Swami. Let's talk about Shedeur Sanders. I think they have to just name him quarterback 1 already, call it a day, and draft other places. What do you think about Sanders and the Browns?
I think they still got a mess there at quarterback that they got to probably sort through and figure out. I think probably going into the season, I would, start there. You got to start somewhere. I would start there. I don't know if it's going to be anybody else they got on the roster right now. Unfortunately, the injury to Judkins and some of the other players. But if they can, at least start by naming a quarterback, then look at bringing in a couple, just like we said with a few of these teams, another receiver or 2. Or I think even starting to develop some of the folks that they have by, through play calling, through trying to figure out roles for some of these folks in the team that they can try to develop some type of consistency. If not, they're going to struggle again. You can't have that stuff we were seeing on that offensive line. That almost looked criminal. I don't know what was going on there. That was insane. Mm-hmm. And obviously, when they're not playing well, you're not going to be able to run the ball. Now you got Shedeur looking like he's back at Jackson State, dropping back and spinning around and running all over the place. And that's not going to work. And we see when he's on schedule and when he's able to, be in a rhythm, he looks, much better and looks like he could, has a lot of potential. But then when guys are just coming free, just like with most quarterbacks, it's not going to be pretty. So if they can figure that out, who's going to, be the guy under center, then maybe get a couple other pieces. I know everybody liked what we saw from Fannin. He looks like he could be a goodie. He was probably the best thing that happened to them this year. And then I would say Judkins, he flashed, but we couldn't really see much of him playing behind that offensive line. And Cleveland's defense, again, even though they had a rough, I'll say second half of the season for sure, I think a lot of that was just due to the offense putting them in bad spots, turnovers, not able to, a bunch of 3 and outs. So I think Cleveland could turn it around here, depending on who they get and what direction they start to go in at quarterback.
Yeah, Trevor, I think, we saw them force Garrett into tying the record of sacks this year, which was awesome, and maybe enough to keep him happy for another year or 2 of a contract. I don't know. I like the running game. I like all their young running backs. You got what do you got over there? You got Sampson, you got Sanders, you got Judkins. I think they're fine in the running game. They need some offensive line. Obviously, 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions out of Sanders isn't going to do it at the quarterback level, but offensive line might fix that. How's your fantasy feel for these guys here? And Njoku will be 30 next year, but that's probably just fine for a tight end. Fannin looks fantastic.
Yeah, well, they did, like Swami had mentioned, that they have to improve their offensive line. That's got to be their top priority. I don't care who your quarterback is. When your offensive line is that bad and you can't run the football, it's not going to be good. So they really need to improve that offensive line and get another receiver in there and let's see where they're at. I think the Browns are a lot closer than people think. Their defense is really, really good at times. They lost a lot of games early this year and they didn't give up more than 270 yards of offense because their offense was so bad and putting them in bad spots. So at the end there, it was getting a little leaky, but you see how they dominated that game against the Bengals. I mean, without the defense scoring 2 touchdowns and having pressure, now they don't win that game. They probably were better off losing that game, to be honest. They probably shouldn't have won it, but they did. So, get some offensive linemen, be able to run the ball a little bit better. And I agree. I think they should start off with Shedeur. I mean, who else are you going to get at quarterback? You don't want to spend a lot of money right now on a guy like a Malik Willis or a Mac Jones, don't do that. Put your money into your offensive line.
Yeah, I can agree with that. So they clearly need wide receivers, guys. They're clearly got to make a draft for more. They drafted a few guys at wide receiver. They didn't really work out. But again, terrible line, terrible offense. So it's not a fair shake for guys like Isaiah Bond. Fannin was excellent. I like Jerry Jeudy. I think he's a good complementary piece. I think they're fine with that veteran presence there. He's not a wide receiver 1. I think he caught 49% of passes, if I'm looking at this right. Swami, is that a product of the actual offense, or is Jeudy just bad? And I didn't see how bad he was.
Jeudy had some drops. He was inconsistent, but it's hard to look at any metrics related to that offense. I just, cheeks. Just...
Yeah, I mean, if Judkins healthy and has a good offseason, I'm interested in Judkins, and I think Fannin's a top 5 for me.
Fannin will be going up draft boards, but he might be the guy you really want to zone into. And what do they do with Njoku? I mean, is he under contract? Do you get rid of the guy? Do you move on from him? I don't know.
I mean, they're pretty good when they're on the field together for real football. It really pisses me off in fantasy and DFS when they're on the field together. But they play good football out there. All right, let's keep moving, guys. We're a little behind schedule here because, we're just having too much fun. Let's go to the Denver Broncos, man. I love this team. I went out and watched them last year in October play the Chargers. They got beat, but what a fun stadium, what a fun atmosphere, what a fun the people in Denver, they know how to drink during a football game, I'll tell you that. But Bo Nix is exciting. I love him. He's got a good connection with Sutton. They didn't have to do a whole lot this year because their defense was just so good. RJ Harvey, I'm excited to watch him in the playoffs to see what he's got. I'm excited for this team. So, I kind of like these guys.
No, it's a lot of reason to be excited. If you're a Denver Broncos fan, just again, first you start with the way the defense is playing, right? So once your defense is playing that well, you always got a chance. Your offense doesn't necessarily have to go out and feel like they got to score 30+ points every week. So you like that. Then they were able to discover Harvey. And then he's added a little bit of a spark to the team as far as being able to be consistent running the ball, what he's able to do out the backfield. So you go, hey, you like that. Obviously, they didn't get a lot, like you said, from the receivers of it and Sutton, but they got enough. And then there was games where, Franklin would go off. And it was games where it's just they took turns stepping up when they needed a little something in a game or two because the way the offense is able to play when they get things rolling, Nix is able to do stuff all over the field. I mean, he was, dare I say it, he was the closest probably thing to me as far as, the quarterbacks that took that next step. So I like what they got. I think that, they're going to make a lot of noise. And again, any team that's winning 14 ball games, look out.
I like it. Trevor, let's talk about their young talent. You got RJ Harvey looking pretty good. They drafted Franklin. They drafted Pat Bryant. Pat Bryant just looks like he needs a professional weightlifter to help him bulk up, and he could be a menace.
Yeah, they've got a good young core there. They should improve as they get older. So, yeah, I like Denver. I mean, sometimes Nick's can be a little erratic on the deep ball because he's misses them a few times, but that's to be expected. He gets that contained. I mean, he could be, a top 10 quarterback.
Yeah, I'm pretty interested in these guys. I think Nick slips out of that top 7 or 8 quarterbacks drafted. I think you can get him kind of late. I'm interested in it. I'm still interested in Sutton. No interest in Engram. I don't think that he remembers how to play football. But I do like Sutton. I do like Franklin. I do like Bryant. I think you're going to see Mims squeezed out of there by those other guys. But I'm into it. I'm really excited to see RJ Harvey and how he performs in these playoffs. Let's go to the Chargers. Also in the playoffs, Herbert went from looking like he might be done to looking pretty good to looking kind of done again. Swami, where are you on Herbert?
I think I saw the same ebbs and flows you saw to both Herbert and the offense. I think maybe some of it, I thought at one point in time, I said, okay, maybe because of the injuries that, at running back. And then, I was like, hey, they're not really sure what they got. They just weren't consistent in the backfield. I thought that kind of hurt them. I thought they were dependent on being able to run the ball 20, 25 plus times. And I mean, and nobody, really was able to do anything consistently because of injuries. And then it was times when you saw, different people show up. At some point, Ladd kind of stopped dropping the ball and he kind of got it going. And then you saw it was these, these weeks we fell in love with Gadsden. And then early in the season, it was Keenan Allen. And every now and then Johnson will remember, oh, I play football. I'm in the National Football League and he might have a game. But if they don't find a way to be consistent on offense, if they continue to struggle and have that kind of up and down, they'll take an early exit. Maybe they pat themselves on the back, but it's just lack of consistency on offense.
Trevor, for every Brian Thomas you drafted this year, I drafted Ladd McConkey and I got much the same results as you, sir. Where does Ladd fall for you on the trust list next year? Because it certainly
I trust Ladd McConkey more than just about anybody because he's still got it. I mean, it's not a Ladd problem. Where Brian Thomas Jr., I think it's a Brian Thomas Jr. problem. I don't think it's a Ladd problem. Another big problem the Chargers have this year is their offensive line can get your quarterback killed at times. They had a big injury on the tackle. What was the tackle's name that they lost? Was it Slater?
I think so.
Season early in the year. And they commit way too many penalties. I mean, this team is holding all the time. So they're forced in second and long. Herbert looks really good against the bad teams. Against the bad teams, they will score 30, 40 points. But when they play a really good team, they really, really struggle. I mean, a lot of quarterbacks do, but he seems to struggle more against the better teams.
Well, that's true. We have a topical question popped up in our Discord here. One of our Discord members, Swami and Trevor, I'll take both your takes on this, wants to know if you would trade Ladd McConkey for the 5th overall rookie draft pick this year.
Fifth beating in the first round?
Yeah.
Oh, heck, that's a no-brainer.
5th pick in the rookie draft in the Dynasty League. Would you trade Ladd McConkey to move up to 5th pick overall?
5th pick in the rookie.
Honestly, I haven't looked to see who would be there yet to even think about it. But
I'm going to probably say no without knowing what that looks like. I don't think so.
I mean, after Ladd last year, right? If he can do that again, he's worth more than that 5th pick, isn't he, Trevor?
Well, yeah, you got to remember next year will only be his 3rd year. You're talking about a young guy still. We know what Ladd can be. He's got a good quarterback. You got to figure there ain't much left in the tank with Keenan Allen. Will he even be back next year? If Allen's gone, Johnston is the deep guy. McConkey will get more involved, I think, especially if Allen's gone next year. And, this isn't a very big draft class. You want that running back love from Notre Dame. And there really ain't a whole lot at receiver. I'll keep McConkey.
Yeah, I think you touched on it here, Trevor. I think that we all kind of underestimated the effects of Keenan Allen coming in on that team on Ladd McConkey's stats because Ladd plays a lot of slot. Keenan plays a lot of slot. They split that up. This team has 4 700-yard receivers, if you account Gadsden's almost 700 yards. Swami, how are you sorting this out next year?
It's a good question. I think I would have to probably look at the way some of the teams finished this year and then balance that against some of the folks coming back or some of the things that they're doing during the draft, and then see what happens in preseason before I would finalize. I just don't know. It's so much change year over year between um, some of these backs. Again, just using a couple of examples. You see what happens after you have a really good year if you're Saquon, and then the next year you see that it's reasons for you to not have that kind of success. Or you see folks just fall off really quickly when we expected them to kind of give us, the same, or the offense kind of changes and fall off really quickly. So uh, I won't say just a little bit of a wait and see, but I just want to see a little bit more, because I could see me saying right now, a couple of guys, just to name them, Trevor, I could say, hey, Genty should be able to do X, next year. Or I should say that, hey, I think we could expect a little bit more next year from, I don't want to say him, but I think we could expect, just say Bijan, if they decide to, run the football and not try to get the two-headed monster thing going. And the same thing, that he did last year. He finished the season really strong. It turned right back around, and they do the same thing again. And then what they do, then they give us these strong Bijan games at the end of the season. So it's just, I don't know. It's just these coaches have to be consistent about getting this two-headed running back thing that they tried to do in most situations isn't working very well. And then a lot of times you got really good running backs that's just not able to develop a rhythm, get things going, to have fantasy value. And so it's just tearing it up. I mean, like every time I look up, somebody's vulturing somebody else, even impacting, Kenneth Walker. It impacts, we'll be able to see from Brees Hall. It's just across the league. And then so it makes it difficult, I think, for me to say early, what I would want to do.
So let me ask you this, Trevor. They really seemed to want Hampton to be a 3-down back when he was healthy. What did you see out of Hampton? What do you think he's going to be next year? Obviously, Vidal was like a undrafted free agent or something, so he's cheap as hell, so he's not going away. But when they both played, Hampton got the ball. They didn't really split it except for that game that Hampton came back.
No, he'll be the 3-down back because he catches the ball well, too, out of the backfield. You watch that hard-nosed Texans game they played. I mean, they tried to get him the ball as much as they could. I mean, they fell behind 14-0 right out of the gate, but they were throwing it to him, trying to run it. Like I said, their offensive line is no match for the Texans. So the last really time that we watched Hampton play, he struggled running a ball, but they're not going to run the ball against a team like the Houston Texans. That's just a tough matchup for them. But a lot of these, you look at a lot of these teams, it all starts up front with their offensive line, and they've improved the line. He's going to be really good. I mean, I love Hampton. He's got all the intangibles. It's just a struggle right now at times.
I agree. I drafted them, but every time we see, as soon as you think that they're going to, be consistent, we got a 3-down type of situation. It's like next thing you know, I'm telling every situation that we know that happens. It's like, hey, Blake Corum, and what's going on there. Every time I look, he's in the game. It's like, hey, what's going on? Do you like Sharp? Just put Sharp in the game. It's just every single time we feel like we get it. And then in situations where you go, hey, this is a great back. You're excited. You're like, hey, you're looking at it from DFS and all of that. And next thing you know, now we're pushing all over the place. It's just everybody is now finding ways. I'm talking about coaches, teams, play callers, finding ways to figure out how to make fantasy running back decisions challenging.
Right.
That's the best way to say it.
Here's a question, Swami, Trevor. Here's a question for you, okay? So we saw running backs dominate fantasy football forever. I mean, first 2 rounds, you're talking out of 24 draft picks, 20 were running backs, right? Forever. Then they come up with PPR because they're like, look, we got to get these wide receivers interested. We got to get people to play more than just Randy Moss. We're going to do PPR. Then they went, well, tight ends are in fantasy, but there's only 3 good ones. So how do we get tight ends in? Well, we give them 1.5 or 2 points per catch to try to get tight ends in. Now we got lots of wide receivers. Every team's running 3, sometimes 4, almost every play. We got at least a dozen excellent tight ends this year, fantasy football points wise. Now the running backs are devalued. When do we get the 0.25 point per rush added in to bring value back to the running back, Swami, because there's only like 4 bell cow running backs in fantasy football anymore.
I mean, you make a great point, but it's just because I think obviously the running back position is more likely to score than any one receiver. They're likely to get more touches. We're talking 15 to 18 a game, and no wide receiver is likely to get, consistently the kind of touches volume that running backs are. I don't know. I think I'm not mad at 0.25 a carry. That's not like, ridiculous, especially when you're talking about PPR leagues. But I think it's a good idea. I just don't know if it's going to get widespread adoption right away. But it's got my vote.
Right.
I'm in two home leagues. I'm in 2 home leagues where this is run by the same guy, and he has a quarter point for a rushing attempt, and he's had that, and I like it.
Well, I mean, it helps you with, Warren and Gainwell, Walker and Charbonnet, Dowdle and Hubbard. I mean, there's so many out there. There's only a handful of teams. I mean, even Barkley was giving up a lot of carries to Bigsby there at the end of the season. I mean, there's only so many Christian McCaffreys where they just give him the ball. It's him and Taylor, maybe Josh, maybe Cook. There's really, not really a ton out there. Even Bijan gets taken out of the game in key situations constantly by Algier. So it is interesting. All right, let's get to the last 2 teams in this league. Let's go to the Raiders first. They fired their coach. They probably need a new quarterback. They've got some nice young players in Bowers. I actually liked Myers in that offense. I was a little sad they traded him off. Trey Tucker's fine. He just needs somebody on the other side to draw coverage so he can run deep. Genty, I think, looks good. He's just on a terrible freaking team, Swami. What do we do with the Raiders next year?
They're starting to put some pieces together. It's about what I thought the Raiders would look like. I think they got to address, receiver, but we've said that so much. You figure, everybody's not going to be able to do it. Somebody's coming up short. But primarily, they got to figure out, the quarterback situation. I thought it was a better idea. Having no quarterback options, but just like the Steelers, I feel like they had to draft somebody. It had to be somebody where once they got to say a certain week in the season, they could go, "Hey, Gino, we appreciate you, buddy, but let's get a young guy try." And it's not the guys they got on their roster now. And it was the same thing with Rodgers. It's like, hey, you put everything in the basket to win this year, which I don't think they're close to doing. And you didn't even think about drafting somebody just to sit behind them. I thought, hey, in the 5th round, why didn't these guys take Shador? You're getting another defensive lineman, somebody that you want to come in on these novelty offensive plays. That's not going to win you any games. And hopefully they get a quarterback. It's likely they'll probably draft somebody early in this draft. I hope they don't do that silly trade back stuff. And even if you miss, you still got to try to figure out your quarterback position if you're Oakland. They're going to be bad again next year. Then they'll probably get another piece. Maybe then we go back and try to get another, top 5 wide receiver or offensive lineman pick. And they probably going to have to do that maybe one more year before we're saying that, hey, they got something going. But they're a couple of years away. Don't like it.
Trevor, any thoughts for you what coach might fit into the scheme there? I mean, they're going to be able to draft, a quarterback of their choice. They've got a young core. They're a bad team, but they're not like a shambles of an organization anymore. I think they've made a couple of good draft picks. They've done a couple of good things the last couple of years.
Well, Harbaugh, if they could get him, would probably be good for them to right the ship to get a base. But he's not going to go there, and they're not going to go for him. They're going to draft Mendoza. I mean, they tanked the season to get Mendoza. I mean, he's going to be the quarterback. They got the number 1 overall pick. So Mendoza is going to be a Raider next year. If I were them, I would try to trade Max Crosby, because by the time they get good enough, he's going to probably be too old by the time they get good enough. They got good young pieces there as far as Genty and Bowers and Mayer. They need to improve their offensive line too. They just need a lot of improvements. So I don't know what coach would fit in there. Whoever's going there has to be given a chance to be long term. Carroll's too old for that. Games passed him by. I know Swami don't like the Harbaugh mention, but just as a guy to right the ship to get them in the right direction, I don't know who can go in there and get them into the right direction.
I mean, it's not an unappealing spot, Swami. I mean, the ownership there has paid money. They'll pay somebody. You're going to have Mendoza. You got Genty. You got Bowers. It's a solid core to coach.
Harbaugh would have probably lost his job years ago when Flacco was there, if it wasn't for Flacco getting injured, because he wasn't even prepared to put Lamar in, and then Lamar came in, and Ravens got hot, and then Lamar took over, was this MVP kind of guy. When you don't have that at quarterback, it really shows just how bad you are. Lamar and Henry and having a great defense covered up a lot of how bad he was. But you see, coaches are responsible for those in-game kind of things, those preparation things, that kind of managing, say media, team, and personalities, and that's all the things he's bad at. So there's no reason to take him to Las Vegas where they don't have the kind of leadership on the team perspective to be able to lean on. So that would be a horrible fit. Even if I lost the argument that, hey, he should land somewhere else, it's definitely not a place where they're having issues at quarterback. And heck no, they would go 0-80.
Well, we got Genty, we got Bowers. Mendoza's not going to get drafted because of the situation that team is in by anybody in the draft next year, fantasy draft. So I think that's kind of it right now. It's Bowers, it's Genty. There might be a flyer on Trey Tucker. They might bring in a wide receiver. Every team needs to bring in a wide receiver. So, who knows? Let's talk about the Chiefs. Even before Mahomes went down, they just completely fell off, Trevor. They missed Rice for a few games. He came back, was hot for a few games, and then that ended pretty quick. Kelsey is clearly needs his snaps and time managed if he's going to play again, which they kind of did this year. Mahomes is probably going to be back day one. I'm sure he will. But will he take less risks running the ball? I don't know. Probably not. Do you like anybody here? I mean, their running game continues to suck. Worthy flashed here or there.
It's Rashee Rice and nobody else, really. Yeah. I mean, I do like I would like Mahomes a little bit, but he's probably going to be, just because of the name, he's going to be drafted pretty high. So I'm probably going to have to pass on him.
Well,
but
I mean, first 6-8 weeks he was number one fantasy quarterback for a run there, and then it all just fell apart.
Yeah. So Rashee Rice for me, I like him. They'll you see him when he's healthy, they'll pepper him the ball. But can he stay healthy now? This is 2 years in a row where I know he missed the first 6 weeks because of suspension, but then he ended up getting hurt and helped nobody in fantasy playoffs for the second year in a row. So I'm not going to spend a top 3 pick. If I can get him like the 4th or 5th round, he'd be somebody I'd be interested in. Right.
Swami, where's your fantasy allegiance to the Chiefs next year? I'm feeling nothing, to be honest. Zero.
No, I think the Chiefs still got some pieces. Obviously, they got Pat Mahomes. I think they had a tough schedule. Looking at it now, they started off, they got like the Chargers on the road, and it was Eagles, Ravens, Lions, Jaguars. Like they probably got off to a slow start. Those games they didn't have Rice. Checo missing some more time. They had to, figure out what they were going to do at running back most of the season. I don't think they probably. I mean, I wonder what they would look like with a 1,500-yard rush, even a 13. I don't even know what they would look like if they could actually consistently run the football. And then they had a bunch of receivers all playing the same position, I thought, at times, and all running the same routes. And then Kelsey, who I think should step into the booth next year and be their position coach at tight end. I definitely don't think he should, he didn't look like Kelsey. He looked like maybe his brother. That maybe his brother playing tight end. He didn't look like the Travis Kelsey that we used to seeing. So I just think he should probably look to develop somebody else if they don't think Gray's the guy. They probably going to have to draft a tight end, and then like I said, maybe bring Tyreek Hill back and figure out running back tight end.
I think Kelsey should be the head roadie for Taylor Swift concerts and just call it a career.
Well, I'm not interested in them. I don't know. Rice is going to go too high. I'm not going to be interested. So I don't think I'll have a single Kansas City person on my opening rosters next year unless there's some, waiver trades or waivers trades or
They
pickups.
do have a couple of sleepers though that could develop. Not guys that you're going to draft early, but if you have a 20-round draft, they might improve. That Brashard Smith, the running back, could be a little bit better, and then that Thornton, the wide receiver, he could develop. Especially if they get rid of Hollywood Brown and Juju. I mean, he could be a late round flyers.
Get rid of those guys. All right, let's move over to the NFC, guys. We'll go to the top. We'll go to the Philadelphia Eagles, the top on my list here at 11-6. They make the playoffs. I thought they looked so bad for most of the season, and credit their absolute terrible division that they play in for boosting their record up. But now they're in the playoffs. They got a defense that's stepping up. They're kind of playing offense by whoever's working at the moment. It's not necessarily the same three people that it's been for the last few years. They're an interesting team. They seem a little dangerous to me. I did, full disclosure, drafted them heavily in my one playoff draft league, so I'm hoping that they look good. Swami, how does this team hold together not only for the playoffs, but next year? I think the Eagles look very different next year.
It seemed like at some point between the Super Bowl and the start of the season, they got really old or something. I don't know. They just didn't seem like they were able to run the ball, and they don't have that same kind of presence. They're not putting fear in people on the offensive side of the ball. Where last year it looked like they were able to easily put up 30 points every week. It's like now this year they're scoring to move the ball, score points, and then look like they're even struggling to move the ball at times. So now that they're getting into the playoffs, we're probably going to see what they're made of. Hopefully they come out and show that, what we call that championship heart, and they come out and get it going. But again, you see what Goddard was able to do early in the season. Smith showed up, had some games, Brown. And then when they needed them, Saquon was even able to put them on their back. If they could just put it all together for the playoffs, next 3 games or so, I think that we'll probably think differently about them going back into the playoffs. But an early exit, I think we will be terrified.
Interesting. Going with those guys, I mean, they're full veterans now, right? You got Smith, you got Brown, you got Goddard, Barkley. You got a team full of vets. Trevor, do they all come back next year? Do they keep this unit together? Goddard's the only one with an expiring contract. I think the rest are tied in for at least a year or two.
I mean, I don't know what else you're going to do with them. I mean, they'll be coming back. They'll probably want to try to draft offensive linemen because we've seen the difference with the few losses on offensive linemen, the difference in the running game. Because I don't think it's a Barkley problem. I think it's more of an offensive line problem again. I think you'll see them all come back again. Maybe not Goddard. It depends on how much he wants, but I wouldn't think that he would demand a whole lot. But
right. Swami, you might be more in touch with coaching than I am. Did they have a change of offensive coordinator or play caller? Because it just seems they're kind of vanilla this year.
I didn't think so, but can't tell. I think they did have, it was a lot of interest in their guys. And I think they probably, did lose some coaching. But you didn't expect the team to, look as bad as they did and then start to have the kind of concerns playing out in the media. You just expected a little bit more from them probably all season. And so they have to get it right now. If not, you could possibly see some changes.
Yeah, I think, Barkley drops to the probably mid-second round in most drafts next year.
At least the end of the first round. I could see mid-second round, but it just depends on, the league. If it's most of the leagues will probably still take Barkley if you figure in 12 teams.
Sure.
Yeah, he'll probably go in the top 15.
AJ Brown, does he fall down because of kind of a slow start to the season?
He would for me. I think he would have to fall down to top 30.
He'd have to be in the third round for me.
Right. And Smith really has turned into boomer bust. He either has a big game or doesn't show up. Goddard actually is the one been most consistent all year. He might be out of the city.
The thing about Smith, if you make a fantasy playoffs, you have to go through 3 weeks. He's not going to put up three. He'll maybe only have one good week out of three. So I mean, he's going to kill you.
Which is why I went Brown, because he's going to be the only consistent guy there. All right. I mean, we know these guys are going to get drafted. We know that people are going to take them. Let's go to the Dallas Cowboys. Is Lamb officially the number 2 wide receiver there, Trevor? Is it the Pickens show now, or is that just the circumstance of the year?
Circumstance of the year, and we don't know what's going to happen with Pickens, because Pickens is a free agent, isn't he? So we don't know if Dallas are they going to invest more money in offensive players when they need help on other spots. They did give up some stuff for Pickens, so but if they want that would be a Jerry Jones thing to do, is put a lot of money into another wide receiver, and more power to him. But, Lamb's the better receiver than Pickens, and we don't know what Pickens is going to do. I mean, he could have a Metcalf moment. We don't really know. But, I mean, there's no doubt his talent is there. But, yeah, as far as the Cowboys go, I mean, you have to like Dak because he's going to have the weapons. But, yeah, Pickens, I don't think overtook Lamb.
I mean, Dak's going to throw for another 4,000 plus again next year, Swami. Pickens caught 93 balls this year. That's a lot. That's a lot of balls for Pickens.
Yeah, and I mean, in the offense, you figure, hey, I'm saying points for right up there, New England, Buffalo, Jaguars, those, and the Cowboys. Except they're not able to win football games. They have found a way to look great on offense, look good from a fantasy perspective, and lose, which has to be frustrating for the fans. Dak, is likely to, like you said, lead the league in passing again. Will it mean anything? The Cowboys decided that, hey, we don't need these defensive players. We looked great on defense for a few years. We felt like we were right there because we get over the hump. Let's just start to get rid of those guys because we may not be able to keep them anyway. And as a result, I always say this, Danger, you don't get better by giving away good players. I get the strategy of trying to get rid of them. Like Trevor mentioned earlier, if the Raiders wanted to make a move because they feel like, hey, this is our best opportunity to get some picks and try to improve, faster, and then we'll likely lose them anyway through free agency. But I just don't see how teams get better getting rid of or moving Khalil Mack, getting rid of Sauce Gardner. I just don't know how you get better by doing that. Like, that's the whole reason you drafted those people early. And then likely the cycle just keep continuing because of those type of decisions. So you're never going to get better, because every time you get a great player, you give them away and start the process over.
So Swami, I think I shared it with you in our text chat after like week 2 of the NFL. There was an AI video, Jerry Jones, a fake AI video of him doing an interview saying they were just one defensive impact player away from being a great team. So funny. So looking at their contracts, guys, Pickens is up. Javonte Williams is up. Jadeveon Clowney is up. 3 of their starting offensive linemen's contracts are up. It's going to be an interesting offseason for the Cowboys, Trevor.
Yeah, and I won't have much interest in Javonte Williams. We've seen him fall off at the end of the year. He started out really hot. I had him in a league or two. I didn't trade him because the Cowboys were a high-scoring offense. I probably should have traded him because I didn't see the slip-off being as much as it was. I know one thing: next year, Dak will not be a top 5 or 6 fantasy draft. I mean, he was drafted in the top 6 in just about every draft last year. I mean, I probably won't even take him in the first round. If Pickens is back, he will totally fall out of the first round for me.
Interesting.
But that's another good example, though, Trevor, when I was saying that when you're doing really well on, say offense, and you've had a great defense, and you're trying to figure it out, and now you're letting folks go, and you're moving pieces all around, and you figure out, well, what's the issue? What's the problem? Well, they've had changes at head coach, right? They've had changes at coordinator. So what's been the common denominator? Well, they're not going to change the owner. So what is it they need to do to get better? And that's why I said, if you're in this situation, it sucks to be a fan, because they have just a whodunit over there. They don't know who to. At this point, what do you do? Who do you change now?
They're just doomed.
They are doomed. Talk about doomed franchise. Let's talk about the Commanders, Swami. Man, Jaden was such a disappointment. Couldn't stay healthy either. But I don't know what to do with this team, man. Debo wasn't a thing. I don't know. Their running back game is a total mess. I don't know what to say. I'm just going to leave it to you. These are your boys.
I'm saying these are Walls boys. Can't stand the Commanders. I think they're snake bitten.
Hey, look, and you got the name Willie Bartholomew Walls right underneath you. So
I'm giving him a shout out. He couldn't figure out his tech again. I'm not surprised. Just give him a shout out there. But we've seen these. I mean, they keep having, these like unfortunate kind of injuries or just mishaps, and just they figure out ways to like not being able to get it going. But it's like it's the runner who stumbles out the gate or who runs right into the first or second hurdle. It's you almost feel bad for them unless you're in the NFC East. You just see that it's just no way. It's almost like, hey, you can see them figuring out a way to not get it done at some point during the season next year. It's like you hope that they able to come back, put some of these pieces together, and maybe make a little noise in the East. I mean, you don't really know about from a playoff perspective, but in the East. But I just, they need a rabbit's foot or like, four-leaf clover. They got to put that stuff all over the stadium, like rub something for luck, because they got some bad luck to go with. Just not getting, things going, I think, on the offense this year.
that's true. And Trevor, they're losing they're getting old. They're losing a lot of players. Zach Ertz's contract is up, but he's been banged up a lot. Von Miller's contract's up. Bobby Wagner. You got a lot of defensive and offensive linemen's contracts up. You could see a whole new slew of faces here next year for the Commanders. I think they're a few years away from being any kind of real threat, even with Jaden Daniels.
I have no interest in any Washington Commander players next year. None. Zero.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I can agree. I'd say we just move on. Let's just move on. Let's talk about the Giants. We had some questions in our Discord about Scatabo. He's being floated around in a lot of trade offers and dynasty leagues because, he flashed so good for a short while. Our dynasty expert, fantasy clown, Mr. Ed Smith, over at drroto.com, says there's no guarantee this guy will be a 3-down back next year. And there's no guarantee this guy will be super productive in fantasy next year. What is your take, Trevor, on Scatabo?
I don't know. He's going to be a guy that scores a lot of if he's healthy, if he's back, he's going to be the guy that's going to get the ball inside the 5 for sure. I mean, he's going to get his carries. He's a wild card. I just don't know where to put him. I have to have the assurance that he's 100% back, and can he stay healthy? And where's he going to fall in the draft? I mean, is he going to be a top 3rd, 4th round guy, or is he going to be a 7th round guy? If he's a 6th or 7th round guy, I'm interested. If he's going to be a 3rd or 4th round ADP guy, then I'm not.
It was a sexy pick, Swami. I feel like his value is going to be way overblown come draft time.
Probably again, it was one of those heartbreaking kind of moments during the season where you see somebody who was just playing well, and you was kind of rooting for him, and then he just go down like that. But I think the Giants' offense is getting better. You figure they lost him, they lost Nate. I mean, you talk about snake bitten. We talk about the Commanders, these guys, and they had something going. I mean, I think the best quarterback in this draft, we know who that was. I think he's going to kind of continue to get better, which is going to go a long way. But as far as drafting him, I'm with Trevor. Coming off of that injury, not quite really sure what you're going. First round pick isn't where where you start to get crazy.
I mean, Scatabo is a guy, Swami, that I wouldn't be surprised at some point this offseason you see a viral video of him bungee jumping off like some crazy bridge and forgetting to attach the bungee cord. Like, this guy's an insane person.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say like pulling like an 18-wheeler or something in his rehab, but you had a bungee jumping without a cord, Trevor. I hope he was over water. Jeez.
He's an insane person. I am totally interested in Dart. I'm not worried about stacking him. I mean, it'd be nice to snack him with Neighbors, but Neighbors' name is going to have him drafted higher than I think I'm willing to take him with his injury history. So I probably won't have a lot of Neighbors. But I'd take Dart. I mean, the guy put up points in terrible situations every single game he was healthy in, Trevor.
Oh yeah, Dart's got to be a guy you're interested in. If I can get him in the 6th, 7th round, I'd be really interested in taking Dart. I don't know if he'll go higher than that. I usually don't like to take a quarterback in redraft leagues, higher than the 6th round. But he's got the legs, he's got the arm, he's pretty much got it all. He'll score touchdowns. They've improved a little. If Malik comes back healthy, he's going to have a pretty good nucleus there.
Couldn't agree more. All right, let's move over to the NFC North. I live in Lions territory, and Trevor lives up in between Green Bay and Minnesota territory, and so we got a lot of passion for this group here. I got in a big argument with a local Facebook group, Swami, about Ben Johnson and his impact on leaving the Lions and going to the Bears. The Lions literally go from Super Bowl favorites to 4th place. And the Chicago Bears go from an utter joke to a game away from the number 1 seed. And to me, the things that connected that dot was Ben Johnson. Is Ben Johnson for real, or is this just really unlucky year for the Lions and really lucky year for the Bears?
I think the Lions, the best way I could describe them was I think they became a little complacent at some point and just maybe expected to win and let some games go, or maybe just didn't prepare as well. Like, it's just no way some of the games that were close should even been close. They should have gotten Gibbs the ball more. They were trying to do this thing where they're spreading it around everybody. Like, they just wanted to make it a point to get 7 guys in the end zone or something on weeks. I just don't know. But I will say that the Bears at least took a step forward, and clearly the Lions took a step back. And I think it's the kind of thing where you can look at the head guy, kind of just like I said before, those decisions, those situations that fall on the head guy are likely where the Bears took a step forward, because you can't necessarily point to anything else other than maybe some of the emergence of a little bit of a running game between the 2 backs, and then a couple of receivers kind of stepping up, which again is probably a product of just the momentum that they developed. And then on the Lions side, you talk about a head scratcher. If you would put them up against any team any week, and you just figure out why is this not a playoff football team, you could only call it just some of the decisions that they were making, because they was relatively healthy. I know they had a couple injuries, but relatively healthy. They looked like they were competing in most games, and you just go, how is this team not in playoffs?
Well, Trevor, we'll get to you on that in a minute. So the Lions had the most injuries, quarters lost for players in the league this year, but they were, I think, first or second last year too, right? And they were a Super Bowl favorite last year. So my guy I was arguing with said, well, injuries and then talent for the Bears. I'm like, are the Bears more talented than last year? I mean, Loveland, sure. Burden, maybe, but I mean, they had Keenan Allen have a couple of good games last year. I mean, I don't know, man. They're on their like 3rd string offensive lineman. That makes a difference. I don't know where they get the stats from, Trevor, but I was watching this guy on Twitter, and he was showing these stats, and it was kind of like war in baseball, wins against replacement. And he was showing these stats, a couple of things, which was points lost due to injury, which was interesting. And the 49ers are actually number 1 on that list. And then number 2, one of the things they were showing was play calling predictability. And they had the Lions ranked worst in the league in play calling predictability from the moment Dan Campbell took over calling plays, calling it a very, very boring offense. What's your take, Trevor? You watch more of these games than I do.
Well, the thing remember that game when they beat the hell out of Washington? And they're like, oh, Dan Campbell. Well, it's because you played a terrible Washington team that's defense was ravished with injuries. Once they played a team like Minnesota, whose defense was, when healthy, they could do nothing in pretty much both games that they played them in. So, Dan Campbell takes way too many chances for me. Sometimes they get a little too cute. You just watch the other, they're driving the football. Then they run some stupid reverse pass that totally gets stopped. They're running too much gimmick plays and going for it on 4th down all the time. I mean, that game against Philadelphia, they went for it on 4th down 6 or 7 times, and they failed on all 6 or 7. He won't take the points when he needs to take the points. Gibbs is a great talent, but they're another team that had offensive line issues too. They lost, Frank Ragnow retiring on them in the offseason. That was a big blow to them. They just didn't run the ball as effectively as they did the year before. and losing the tight end there hurt them too. I mean, that tight end is pretty good when he's
so guys. Gibbs is all world talent, right? I mean, he is absolutely phenomenal athlete. He's got problems though. One, bad offensive line that might not improve next year. Maybe it will because it was mostly injury, so maybe it improves. But two, he can't pick up pass pro, Trevor. I mean, that's why they got beat by Minnesota at the game that I went to, because they couldn't keep him on the field because he couldn't pick up the pressure from the Vikings. So he's got to figure that out. Otherwise, I can't draft him as my number 2 or 3 overall pick as my first player off the board. If he's going to miss the game because he can't pass pro.
Well, I'm not going to go that far. He's going to be pretty high on my list just because you can see how he catches the football. Montgomery's not going to be there next year. Mm-hmm. He's going to be gone or not. Is it Montgomery? Am I getting my names mixed up? I'm trying, but the backup's going to be gone. So you just got to hope Gibbs get better. Yeah, he didn't pick up the pass when Minnesota blitzed the heck out of Detroit. He couldn't pick it up, and he was getting Goff killed. And that's another guy Goff is really good when they're playing against some lesser teams and they got everything going right, and he can fire the ball around. But when the chips get going tough, he seems to fold, and playing outdoors doesn't seem to do good. He played good against Chicago the other day when they had their chances. I mean, those were layup passes to Amon-Ra St. Brown. What are the Bears doing in pass coverage? I mean, it is like Amon-Ra St. Brown wide open routinely. But back to the Bears. We were talking about talent. They did draft. Burt. I know Odunze has been hurt, but they drafted Burt and Caleb, Odunze, Loveland. They brought in 3 new offensive linemen from last year. Their offensive linemen can run the ball. Monunga is playing well. They brought in Swift a couple years ago. Imagine how good the Bears would be. Now, I'm glad they didn't do this because they're in my team's division. They could have drafted Drake May ahead of Caleb Williams. If they would have drafted Drake May ahead of Caleb Williams, oh, my God, this team would be – I would have them almost predicted to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, maybe. So, I mean, here's where I'm at, right? Am I crazy? If I'm sitting at pick number 6 and somehow Gibbs is there, can I pass on Gibbs at pick number 6?
You might. I wouldn't. And I'm going to tell you why. Because despite all the troubles, right, when I'm looking at it, just like you said, hey, what did the numbers look like? They had to be probably second in the NFC in points and maybe somewhere around 4th or 5th in the National Football League. It's not the offense. Yes, they were decimated. They lost a lot of players on defense, but it's just what Trevor said. That's why I thought the momentum shifted in games. It was decisions not to kick field goals. I had that raggedy kicker, Bates. That's how I know when I'm sitting here and they're in position and they're not going for it so many times. And then I said complacency. When you're just overly self-confident, you think teams are just going to roll down. You see all this talent you got. They probably in film study like, no way we can lose to this team. And then you end up 9-8. And it's mostly because of calls like that. And like I said, he must have watched film on Harbaugh. He got dressed like Harbaugh. He wore Harbaugh's underclothes because he tried his very best to be that kind of guy. To figure out ways to lose games when you clearly have a great football team is just unexcusable to finish last in that division. No way. Behind the Vikings is crazy. I know they were tied, but still nuts. No way. Should never happen.
All right, so we know we're drafting all the offensive guys on the Lions. Maybe Goff slips back there, but we're drafting all those guys. We're drafting Swift. We're drafting Monangai late rounds unless there's movement there. We're drafting Odunze when he's healthy. DJ Moore may or may not still be there. I don't know. Burden looked really good. Loveland looked great. So we like all those players. Any secondary players there? Jamison Williams. I feel like he thoroughly disappointed me on the teams that I had him outside of those first couple of weeks. Are we interested in Jamison Williams again, Trevor?
Depends where you can get him. He's going to have to be 6th, 7th round. He's not going to be a 4th or 5th round guy for me because the consistency's not there. One thing about him, I will say this. Amon-Ra St. Brown wasn't flashy this year, and I know he was falling, but he's a guy, if you're drafting in the late 1st round, you pretty much have to. If he's there, you have to take him because he's consistent every year. He's going to put up the numbers.
Yeah, I like him a lot. All right, let's move on to the Vikings and the Packers here. We're almost at our 2 hours. So if we got to call it any time, guys, we can call it. But let's try to rush through here after we get through this. The Vikings, obviously, they need some quarterback play, Trevor. I mean, they need a quarterback. And also they probably need a quarterback.
Well, you can see why they went with McCarthy. They had to go with McCarthy. You couldn't sign Darnold because for whatever reason, they can't draft beans there. They can't draft offensive linemen, so they had to take all their salary cap money and put it in veteran offensive linemen to come in and defensive line. If they could draft well, they could have gave Darnold some money. But in a way, I'm not too unhappy they didn't get that. If they signed Darnold, then they don't have a few of the offensive linemen, but maybe they would have been better off with Darnold. The dumb thing they did is sign him to a 1-year contract 2 years ago. They should have signed a 2-year contract instead of one. But you can see why the Vikings made if McCarthy would have turned to the guy, maybe not a great player, but been better. Look at how good they finished 9-8. They haven't given up a touchdown pass in 8 weeks. Not since way back when they played the Ravens have they given up a touchdown pass. So you could see how good their defense has really gotten. So you can see why they went for the rookie quarterback. But the bad thing was backing it up with Wentz and this Brosman guy. I mean, that's just inherently horrible. I mean, they would have been better off with just about anybody else as a backup, than what they had as a backup plan.
If they don't fix this situation, Swami, how far does Justin Jefferson slip down the board for you?
He has fallen significantly. You know the kind of talent he is, so he's probably going to maintain a relatively high, position. He's going to be going high in most leagues just because his name and who he is as a talent. But for anybody who's been paying attention, until they figure out what's going on at the quarterback position, it's just hard. I know I wouldn't do it. It'll be very difficult to take him where I think he'll go. And again, it comes down to those simple decisions. No matter what, and I get it, Vikings fans, no matter what, and I get it, you were not happy with the way Donald probably played in a few games, but they were 14-3, and I think they lost to one team twice. Justin Jefferson had over 1,500 yards, 10 touchdowns. And then you come back this year. If he had 1,000 yards this year, it didn't feel like he had 1,000. It felt like 300. I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, I avoided him because I'm on record as a J.J. McCarthy hater. So I avoided him in my first round anyways. But I mean, you look at Darnold. What's his record this year, Swami?
14-3.
For his last 6 weeks, he's done nothing to help this team. He sucked last week. They won. He sucked against the Rams. They won. He sucked against the Falcons. They won.
Holy Swami, we got Trevor fired up.
4 or 5 games and they win. They got the best defense in football.
Yeah. No, that's true. All right. Well, let's talk about these Packers. We know we're drafting Jefferson. Addison, I don't know.
Addison might get traded.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, until I know who the quarterback is, if your name's not Justin Jefferson, I don't want anything to do with that offense. I don't want Aaron Jones.
Jefferson just came out and said that he is giving McCarthy a big thumbs up and thinks he could be elite. I almost fell on my chair laughing.
Yeah, that's pretty damn funny.
But the Vikings are going to have a new running back there. You don't look for those two guys, won't be the starting back. So we'll move on.
That's
all right, we'll go to
his moment right there. That's my quarterback.
Yeah. All right, we're going to move on here. We're going to go to the Packers. We're going to run through this. Jordan Love, I felt like kind of took a step back this year. That's probably did. They had some problems keeping wide receivers healthy. They lose Tucker Kraft, who was having an awesome start to the year. Josh Jacobs, perfectly consistent, perfectly fine. I don't know what his contract is like, but I like this offense. I mean, Watson looked good. Reed, when he's healthy, looks okay. Dobbs can step up for a game. It feels like Jordan Love could be a guy that I might move up my rankings this next year. Swami?
Jordan Love has probably got to be a little bit more consistent. I think sometimes he looked like he was, that guy. And then there was other times where he just didn't feel like he showed up. So I think if he can show up, I think the receivers can stay healthy. Maybe they had a lot to do with it. Kraft not being in the lineup. I think they had something going. Reed didn't play most of the season. Watson, seemed like he would get it going and then he would tweak something. And so, I think there's a lot to like there. I'm not mad that you want to move him up there, but I would need. It feels like he always feels like 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. I was like, right. I feel like I want a little bit more. If he's going to be your number one quarterback, and then I don't like that. I feel like Jacobs is out of the offense every other drive. But other than that, I think they're viable.
Yeah, Trevor, I talk about moving Love up. I talk about that. Let's put context to that. Okay, I don't take a quarterback until probably 8 or 9 other quarterbacks are off the board. So that's why I say I'm moving Love up to my interest list, not in my top 5.
No.
But If I'm taking a quarterback in round 8 or 9 and Love is there and he's the 10th, 11th quarterback off the board, I'm probably happy with him. And that's what I talk about when I say moving him up my board. That means when I let everybody else take their first pick, if Love is still there, he's my guy.
He's a 10th or 11th round pick. He's somewhere in that era. And for me, Kraft has to be healthy for him to come back. You've seen the fall off when Kraft got hurt. Watson, you can see how good when he's healthy, Watson's really damn good. So if you can keep Watson healthy for a full season and Kraft back, then yeah, I think Love has a lot more going for him. Jacobs kind of fell off more so because he was injured, and they had some really tough matchups against good run defenses. So Jacobs. I don't know if he'll be back next year. I don't know if he's still under contract or not. I'm pretty sure he is.
Who knows? All right, let's go to the Panthers, sneaking in the playoffs here for the third of the last 7 years where a NFC South team has made the playoffs with a losing record. That's pretty outstanding, to be honest. Bryce Young sometimes flashes that he's pretty good, sometimes flashes that he doesn't. Hubbard and Rico, if they're back again, are okay over there. Tet McMillan has got a ton of talent. I don't know what else to say about this team. I don't know how their running back's going to shake out. I still think Bryce Young is undraftable in redraft. Tet McMillan makes a case. Swami, like Rico or Hubbard, assuming they have their roles next year?
No, I just didn't like how they finished the season with that split, with the way they ran the ball. Again, they won a couple of games, but it just felt more situational. It didn't feel like they were developing anything. I would probably stay away from them.
Probably. Trevor, any interest besides somebody named Tet McMillan on this team next year redraft? Nope. Yeah, we can just move right on. Let's try the Falcons. Obviously, Bijan is an absolute stud. He'll be in the top 3 or 4 pick again. They still bafflingly take him out of situations where he's clearly better. I don't know why. Swami, can you tell me why? Can you tell me why they take Bijan Robinson out when he should be playing?
You're trying to get fired. It's something like that. Like I said, you you try hard enough and it don't happen. It doesn't make any sense. Again, I like London, but I still think he's probably the best player on the team. We see what he can do. I think he can make the entire offense better. You had Pitts kind of finally step up. I'm sure that had something to do with a contract year. You had London, even though he was in that offense, when he was in there and they had that quarterback, they looked really good on offense. The defense would show up, especially at home. And again, you just had where I think they weren't able to develop any momentum because of what they were doing with Robinson, because London couldn't stay healthy. And a lot of those decisions that they were making to take London out and do, it's unreal. It's unreal, the kind of stuff that they were doing. It didn't make sense. And that's why you get fired.
Yeah, I mean, Trevor, all these guys are draftable, though. I mean, London's draftable, Pitts is draftable, Bijan's draftable. I don't know about Penix. Probably not. Probably leaving Penix off the draft board.
Yeah, if you use Penix and DFS on certain weeks against good matchups, and that's about it. You don't want him on your fantasy team, really. I mean, he'd be a guy you can pick up during the season anytime. Like you mentioned, there's going to be a new coaching staff that comes into Atlanta. Algier, he might not be on the team. He's a free agent. So if Algier goes, Bijan even gets a bigger step up, because there's no reason to be pulling the guy as much as they do. I understand Algier's a solid back. He's not no slouch, but
I mean, the year before Bijan got there, he had 1,200 yards. I mean, he's a good running back. He deserves a shot somewhere, so I'm sure he's gone.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the Buccaneers. This is a team I just couldn't get right this year. I mean, Ibuka stepped up at the beginning of the season when they needed him to, and then this whole thing fell apart. Mike Evans squeaked in another, or did he just miss 1,000 yards? He just missed 1,000 yards, didn't he?
No, he was probably way off because
he was way off. Yeah. So I mean, Mike Evans, he's pretty much done, right? Godwin can't stay healthy at all. Egbuka's fine. They got a few guys there. Another situation where I can't understand what they're doing in the backfield, Swami, with Bucky. Bucky clearly is better than the other two, and they just want to get Sean Tucker involved for some weird reason.
Again, trying to get fired. You're trying to find ways to play bad football, to not think about things like momentum and, making sure that especially at the running back position, you're able to get into a rhythm. And again, you got guys in and out the lineup. They really can't get anything going. They're not getting the touches consistent. Next thing you know, when he's out the game, and I'm saying your guy, whoever that principal guy is, when he's out the game, now the backup gets this huge hole, but he can't necessarily, break out like I think Bucky would have in that hole. I mean, and again, I know White looked good on a couple of runs, but they just bring in Tucker and just to take value away from those two guys. It's just, especially at the goal line, I can't stand it. I think I had Abuka Mecca's on a milk cart. I mean, he disappeared when those guys came back. And from a fantasy perspective, it just seemed like he was out of rhythm. Even when they got balls to him, he was dropping stuff he should have caught. And then, they weren't connecting on stuff. And it was a mess. It turned into a mess. First, you thought Otten was going to be involved. And then you said, okay, now they got everybody back. And it just seemed like with each player coming back, Trevor, they got worse.
They got worse.
They got worse with everybody coming back.
They did get worse. And Baker looked lost when all the players were back. I don't know if play calling was the problem. Egbuka looked like he just didn't know what to do if he wasn't getting 10 targets a game. He literally looked lost, like turned around and surprised the ball was coming at him, lost. So what was the deal there? Was Baker's play bad, play calling bad?
I think there's several things. The offensive line stunk. They had some injuries. They couldn't run the ball effectively in a lot of games. Their offensive line wasn't good, and Baker fell off. Look at last week. They're up 10-0. It's a third down play, and he throws it right to a Carolina defender. Nobody around him. I mean, that's just a horrible pass right there. You're up 10 points, and you're making turnovers like that in a game that go in the playoffs. I mean, that's pretty bad. So he had to fall off. I had a book in a couple leagues, and I had a big offers for him, and I should have traded him. I didn't foresee him just to fall off the face of the earth.
I don't know what to do with these guys. It seems like Liam Cohen was the guy, and I don't know if I can draft any of these players at value this year. They got to drop. I don't think I can take a buck if they don't come to value.
I don't know how that coaching staff's surviving. I would have got rid of them all. I would have moved on. I would have said, goodbye, see ya. Especially after they blew that. What game was that? Did they blow a Falcon game? They're up by 2 scores in the fourth quarter. And this again, Baker Mayfield throws an interception in the fourth quarter. You have 2 scores and you throw an interception. What are you doing there?
Tough. Talk about a team that I probably want nothing involved with at all outside of Olave, the Saints. I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, Kamara's done. Taysom Hill's moving on. I don't like. Shuck was fine, especially for DFS, but not really a good real life quarterback. They got problems. If your name's not Olave, you're probably not going to be on a lineup of mine. I mean, Juwan Johnson had a pretty good year, but if a quarterback changes and they don't dump off to the tight end, he might suck. Swami, you're smirking over there. You got something to say about my Saints?
I got to give Tyler a little love. I mean, you didn't show him any love. He made Johnson viable. He made Olave viable. He made himself viable from at least a DFS perspective, and he made him very well. Olave basically led me to a couple of championships. I was 3 out of 4 because of mostly Tyler. I think so. I got to show him some love there. I think they might have found at least somebody who can compete for a job there. They got to figure out the backfield. We don't know what they'll look like if they can actually run the ball again and get something going. They need to find a young, new, hot running back from somewhere, to give them what Alvin Kamara was giving them. And I think, again, the Saints offense can be right back where they were. And then they obviously going to need a few more pieces. But I think Tyler's a man of interest, especially with him and Olave and Juwan Johnson had going this year.
All right. Agree to disagree. We'll find out next year.
They're in a rebuild offense. I mean, I like Shupp. I wouldn't feel comfortable with him being my number 1 quarterback in a redraft league.
Yeah.
He's a DFS guy you can look forward to. I would feel more comfortable with somebody else as my starter for a redraft, but it depends on who they bring in there. I mean, they could bring in another wide receiver and give him another weapon. I mean, you ain't working with much, so I'm not as down on him as you are.
Well, we'll see. All right, we're going to talk about the Seattle Seahawks. Does anybody know the contract between Charbonnet or Walker? Is either of them up? Can we get rid of one of them?
Walker is up.
Thank God. Can we get rid of one of them? Can we just let this
He
be
could be in
somebody?
Minnesota.
because this is such a great running team. Their offensive line is good. They can run the ball. They do things out of the backfield with them, but it's just split between both of them every damn time. So I'm going to tell you a story Doc made me promise never to say online. Earlier this year, Trevor knows, he's already laughing. Earlier this year, I drafted, slow draft in a dynasty league during the rookie draft. It's right before we start. I don't remember when it was. I was out for work. I work for a brewery. That I make my tipsy picks sometimes late at night. So I go to bed thinking, man, I just did this. I traded a first round pick in Ayuk for JSN. I just made my team excellent. Wake up the next day, reread the shit. Swami, I traded away JSN for Ayuk in Hampton. I thought it was the opposite way because I had a few too many beers and I'm in a few too many leagues. I lost my way. So I think my new rule, Swami, is no trades unless the sun is shining for me from now on.
My life in that, I'm laughing with you. That is awful. I mean, all the way around. My goodness. but I saw what you were trying to do. So let's just say his intent, Trevor, was in the right place, right? He was trying to get, obviously we know what he did this season, but JSN is playing lights out. That's one of the reasons why they are where they are. And then obviously you said that they were able to kind of run the ball. The defense kind of showed up and they were able to figure out something with Barnett. They got a lot to be excited about. I'm talking about even for this year. So next year, again, we'll see what happens at the running back position, but you can pencil JSN as the man everywhere. And then, we'll flip that coin and run it back when we figure out what they decide to do. But I would be interested in a Seattle running back if they were going to have at least a main guy, even if it wasn't 3 down. Just somebody's going to get most of it.
So, Trevor, I know personally I put JSN right behind Chase as my number 2 wide receiver talent in the league. You might argue Jefferson still belongs there.
No.
But I love JSN. If I'm sitting at pick 4 or 5 and a couple of the big running backs come out, I'm taking him immediately if he's there. He might go in that top 4 or 5 picks if people value him over people like Bijan or Taylor or any of those guys that were going top list. Where are you on JSN? If you have the number 1 pick, are you taking JSN?
No.
If you have the number 2 pick, are you taking JSN?
No.
3.
No.
4. Where's he going for you?
Maybe 4. Can I take him ahead of Puka? I don't know. 1 is still going to be one will probably be Bijan for me, especially if Algier is gone. Bijan might move all the way up to 1 because I just think that there's a big drop off at back at certain times, but it's going to be tough to pass up on one of these receivers. But I don't, for JSN to have the year that he had again, that'd be pretty tough, especially if you think they bring in a few more weapons. I don't know. It's going to be tough to take JSN that high and expect a duplicate. I think Bijan would be for me to pass up at 1.
Where are you at with JSN? How high are you willing to take him?
I would probably take JSN, like you said, maybe right behind Puka as far as receivers. So for me, that's best in PPR. We talking, easy top 6.
I mean, I don't know. I might take him over Puka because I am worried about Stafford aging out finally and not knowing what's going to be throwing the ball there. And Adams, can he put up another season where you have to cover him because he's catching 12 touchdowns? I think Puka's more up in the air for me than JSN is, I'll be honest.
I'd be more worried about a Darnold fallout than Stafford.
That could happen. But he's done it 2 years in a row now, so let's give him some credit, Trevor. Let's give him some credit. Darnold's a man of interest for me in that, after 10 quarterbacks have come off the board. I'll steal your words, Swami.
I'll take Mendoza over him.
Come on now. You're being silly. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the Rams. I just kind of led into it, right? Does Stafford come back? If he does, is he as effective as he was this year? Does Adams return? If he does, is he as effective of a red zone threat as he was? Does Kyron Williams come back? Can him and Corum become Gibbs and Monty? Can they coexist? Does it muddy it up? Which one of the 4 tight ends are draft worthy? Swami, any of them?
I wouldn't draft a tight end. It's probably free agent type of situations there at tight end. You would think that you would probably lean more to, well, yeah, no, I wouldn't draft him. And then as far as even running back, even though I like Kyron, I had him on most of the teams because of the split, how consistent, it seemed like a 50-50 kind of split. And it seemed like Corum is at least getting more of the touches, at least I could be wrong, but how I felt he was getting more of the touches inside the red zone, and I just didn't like there. And then when you add in the mix that they were willing to go to Adams around the goal line, which even I didn't like it because I had Puka, I thought it was just a great call the way he was able to get open down there. And as long as he continued to be effective like that down at the inside the 5, yeah, he's going to be viable. It just comes down to him being healthy. But I would take Puka against still number 1 no matter what. So the rest of it is no shaking.
It's an interesting team. I mean, they keep their defense up. I'm just looking at their contracts right now. I mean, Higbee's up, but he's getting old, and they've got plenty of other people back there. Parkinson's up. Does he get an offer somewhere else? I don't know. Tutu Atwell's up. I mean, the core of this team is locked up for another couple of years still. And that running back, as frustrating as it is for us, Swami and Trevor, that running back tandem is really good at real football.
It's good, but it's not good for fantasy. It's just not going to be that good in fantasy. They cut each other's throat when it comes to fantasy. Puka's the guy. Adams, I'm not going to probably take him. He's probably going to be highly drafted, and he's just getting old and a little too banged up for me. But when he's on the field, nobody can guard him inside the 5.
Yeah, still
and
crazy.
The Rams draft well. They draft very well. This is why they're so good.
Does their coach keep going? I mean, this guy's been hinting at walking away for years. That he keeps getting offered more and more millions to go to the booth every single year. Is this the year he finally walks away? I don't know.
I think
not if he has those guys.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about my Niners here. This is another team that you're going to draft some guys from. Kittle, when healthy, which is 50-50 in the middle of any game that he's going to finish the game, but still manages to put up 15, 16 fantasy points when he only plays 2.5 quarters. You got CMC, proved all the haters wrong, including myself. I completely avoided him this year. Shame on me. Who knows who their wide receivers are going to be? Ayuk's gone. Jennings probably walks away. Can Pearsall be a number 1? I don't think so. So they've got some big questions at wide receiver. And then you got Purdy. You got a guy that got paid as a top 10 quarterback because you had to. Is there anyone in the league, Swami, that has thrown more interceptions at the 1 or 2 yard line than Purdy in the last 3 years?
I kind of blame some of that again on play call. I thought they were getting a little too cute down there.
Yes,
always able to run the ball. That was the reason you brought Robinson in. CMC still very effective in short yardage. There was just no reason to get so cute down there on many of those plays. But I think from a fantasy perspective, I still like CMC. I liked them this year. I like Taylor this year. I just wasn't down on them because of the way that they use CMC specifically out of the backfield. I mean, anytime, even no matter what, I think he was going to get 5 or 6 targets. They pushed it. He was getting double-digit targets. Now that makes it a no-brainer. And do I see that changing in this offense next year with all of the movement they're going to have at wide receiver? Nope. So I am all on, bringing, I would say, at least a top, again, 10 pick. I wouldn't be mad if you said 15 for CMC. As far as the rest of it, it's more wait and see, other than Kittle, who I would look at, and maybe, like you said, top 5 rounds, but I couldn't trust any of the rest of the guys. They would have to fall to me beyond the 12th round.
Yeah, I think Purdy can improve, Trevor. I mean, he's fine. Again, another guy I like to draft the 10th to 12th quarterback off the board. He's probably in that range again. I mean, it's Kittle, it's CMC, maybe Purdy if you're waiting long on quarterback. I don't like anything else here.
Well, I'm definitely going to take some flyers on Pearsall because I think he's going to be an 8th or 9th round pick. Now, I could get burned because if he can't stay healthy, it's going to hurt. But if he can stay healthy, he's not going to be a 1,500-yard receiver, but he could be a 1,000-yard guy. And if I can get that in the 8th or 9th round, he's worth taking a chance on.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's talk about the Cardinals, whose offense was super fun to watch with Jacoby Brissett. They still only managed to win 3 games. But he energized them. Michael Wilson became a star. Trey McBride started playing to his potential as soon as they got Kyler Murray out of there. I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know what the contract situation is with Jacoby. It seems like that they are out on Kyler Murray, but you never know with ownership on how they feel about such things. Let's just say they are the team they are today, Trevor, right now. Where are you on Brissett, Wilson, McBride?
Well, McBride, you know, he just gives your fantasy team such a big advantage as a tight end. He'd probably be a second round pick for me because he's a 20-point-a-week guy at tight end. Nobody else is going to do that. Maybe Bowers can, but he's not been healthy this year. I really like Wilson, but if Marvin Harrison is back 100%, it kind of takes away from Wilson, but I still like Wilson. Depends on where he would go in the draft. I think Harrison might be overdrafted again for the third straight year. I mean, I have really no interest in Harrison, but if Brissett's back, you know, he is that much better on offense. And I hope he's back with them because he does play decent enough. Their problems are elsewhere on that team. It ain't at the offensive level. Maybe offensive line, maybe in the defense, but I would bring him back if you can get him for the right price. Now, if he's wanting $35 million, you're not bringing him back. But
well, Swami, I mean, I personally think Wilson looks like a better wide receiver than Marvin Harrison Jr. at the pro level. Anyways, I think that he was on an Ohio State team that dominated, that had no real defense to play against. He's got that last name that people like. I think Wilson's a better wide receiver. If it's not Brissett, if it's not Murray, who would you love to see throwing the ball here?
Well, I think first I want to address the elephant in the room. We talked about a bunch of teams need wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
And Trevor even brought up earlier in the show about, hey, trading a Raider and some other for picks. I think you get Mr. Marvin Harris down to a travel agent as fast as you can, and you get him as far east as you can go. And right behind him, maybe not on a plane, but definitely train a horseback, is Kyler Murray heading to New York. Get them jokers out of town first. Because, hey, do what you can. I'm sure the Jets will give something if he's still under contract. The Jets will do something. They have to do something. They need to do something. And maybe Murray is somebody they could be interested in. But Harrison, I know is some value for him out there. It'll probably be a win-win. It could be a better spot for him to land where he could go somewhere to some of these teams. He can get a fresh start, maybe start to refocus himself and get better. And then you can let this thing with Wilson, McBride, and Brissett. We need to see what this can do again. When he had 33, almost 3,400 yards or something, 3,300 yards, 23 and 8. I don't think Wilson, a lot of quarterbacks were 23 and 8. Are you kidding me? And then the offense not only was exciting, you know, obviously they were throwing from behind a lot of games, but they actually were making some real noise. Wilson looked like a superstar, not just like a star. He looked like he could be like the next coming. Like right now, he should be somewhere on Amazon looking for gifts to send to Brissett. That's what he should be spending most of his offseason doing. And then you look at the fact they were able to do it almost with no running game whatsoever. I mean, none. Like even the defense played a little. I mean, just nothing.
Zero.
They can do anything there. That's where they should focus. Like I said, the big and uglies in the interior, running the football, and at least try to keep that together for one more season. But those
yeah. I mean, it's in division, so it probably wouldn't happen. But a guy like Kenneth Walker on that team, you know, that would be awesome. I don't know where Benson stands on his contract or his injury, but I don't know. I wasn't in love with Benson to begin with. Maybe an Algier over there, give him a shot over there. I mean, a running game at all makes that offense worthwhile. I think we've hit it. I think we wrapped it up, guys. That's everyone.
Yeah, and this show.
Oh.
As soon as he asked this question, must have been a good one.
Must have been a real good one. Oh, we lost him right at the end. I'm going to leave his face up there because it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Swami, thank you for hanging out today. It was a pleasant surprise. I didn't know you were coming on, and I appreciate you. Trevor, we lost you. We saw you say one word, your mouth opened, and then nothing happened.
Oh, Yeah, my internet, my spectrum must have went out. I said, I was just saying with Arizona, I said, that just shows you how bad Kyler Murray sucks.
Yeah, right. I love it. Well, Trustin, Trevor, I appreciate you. I saw from you're moving around there, you're starting to get uncomfortable. 2.5 hours was not the plan, but it's where we ended up. So
yeah, the neck's getting a little stiff.
Well, I appreciate you all so much. And obviously, we're still going at drroto.com. We got guys writing NBA. We got people writing hockey. Adam and I are going to start up golf again. So there's all kinds of stuff going on there. So please sign up over there. Sign up, use the promo code WIN for 10% off. Just because it's the off season doesn't mean we're not there for you. We got playoff stuff. We got Johnny Danger answering every question in Discord like it's my job or something. I don't know, but it gets done. So come over and see us. All right, guys, I appreciate you coming here, and we'll catch you all soon.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.